across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way until 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views and dazzling debate. Get stuck in, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. That's 0344 499 1000. It is Monday, July the 21st. Here's what's coming up. We're going to take a deep dive into the migrant crisis and show the chaos in Calais as thousands of young men camp out and gather in growing numbers ready to cross the channel illegally in a small boat or dinghy. These guys are being transported into the area on coaches and are building vast tent cities in the forests inland from the beaches where, unhindered by the French police spectators, the dangerous voyages to Britain's promised land begin. Meanwhile, Starmer makes a deranged swap of foreigner deal with Macron that will never start and continues to parrot his nonsensical catchphrase, "Smash the gangs," having not even found a single people smuggling gang, let alone smashed any. Do you have any confidence that our wonderful government is on course to solve this escalating catastrophe? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, I'll bring you the alarming statistics that prove that asylum seekers are being charged with hundreds of serious crimes, including soaring amounts of sex offences. After 15 years of letting in anyone who pitches up on our shores, no questions asked, how safe do you feel? How safe are Britain's streets, particularly for women and children? 0344 499 1000. That's what these governments have done. Over 15 years of mismanagement, they've turned this country into an unsafe place for everybody, but especially for women and children. Good, isn't it? 0344 499 1000. Reform UK star Dame Andrea Jenkins joins me in an hour to help process Nigel Farage's proposed crime crackdown and his plans to send Britain's worst criminals to El Salvador's notorious super max prisons. You know, Trump's been sending some of his ne'er-do-wells down south to those El Salvador jails. Do you think it's a good idea that we join Trump in sending our worst crooks there? What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Also, tonight, the homeless veteran kicked off a train despite offering to pay his fare in cash. Shouldn't military veterans get free public travel? Isn't that the least we can do? 0344 499 1000. And finally, a worried mum from Epping in the studio outlining the concerns of a local community that suddenly finds more than 100 young male migrants foisted upon it after the local hotel, the Bell Hotel, became an asylum seeker accommodation centre. 0344 499 1000. Plus, our royal guru, Kinsey Schofield, on all the latest news from Planet Meghan and Harry. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday night together. And right off the bat, let's hook up, I hope we can, with our international correspondent, our international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, who's waiting to join us via the magic of Zoom. Are you there, Isabel?
I very much am there, yeah. I hope you can see me and hear me.
We can. I'm very pleased we are to see you as well. Also, we have your partner in crime, as it were, your partner in journalism. He is Nicholas Lissack. He's in the studio, political commentator. Hello, Nicholas.
Pleasure to be here, Kev. Pleasure to be here.
And sort of you two have just been working together And Nicholas has been with a colleague, haven't you, to Calais for a few days towards the end of last week. We've got some footage that we'll show you as the backdrop to this discussion. But I think the first thing to say, Nicholas, if we can start with you, was I've looked at this footage. And, you know, as far as the eye can see, you just see thousands and thousands and thousands of nearly all young men just milling around beside the road, sometimes in sort of market areas. They've set up these marketplaces where they all go. Others just hanging around in tents. Others just hanging around by the side of the road. Others hanging around by the side of the sea, as it were, waiting to get on a dinghy or a small boat, I assume. But look, we're looking at it now. Look at it. Look at it. I mean, were you shocked at the number of people you saw there?
I'll tell you right now, the TV cameras certainly don't do it justice. I was absolutely blown away by the sheer magnitude of the crisis. We knew it was bad. Personally, I didn't think it was going to be this absolutely terrible. While I was there for those 3 days, I saw several thousand migrants. And this camp in particular, where you're seeing the footage right now, that goes on forever. In fact, I wouldn't just call it a camp, I would call it a migrant metropolis. In fact, there are several splinter camps all up and down the area, and we witnessed migrants actually running supply drops between various segments of the camp. It went on as far as the eye could see. It was ginormous, and it was pretty well built up. We witnessed migrants using axes to cut down trees, so they're disturbing the local wildlife.
We're just looking at the forests now. These are coming back from the beaches, so quite a nice sort of wooded area. But if you look more closely, I think you sent some drones up, didn't you? And
yes,
you can just see through the trees, just tent after tent after tent. As you say, tent city doesn't really do it justice. Tent metropolis, good word there, Nicholas. Yes, enormous. Just thousands of people camping out there, I guess, waiting for their turn.
Exactly, they are waiting for their turn, and we spoke to many migrants there, most of which are attempting to or are planning on crossing into the United Kingdom. And we actually encountered some familiar faces over and over again, including when we were in Gravelines at the canal for a boat launch. We encountered some migrants that we had met in the camp previously, including one rather interesting fellow with a rather suspect tattoo of an AK-47 beneath his eye.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because they like doing that. There was one that came over after Nigel Farage recently, wasn't there?
Yes, indeed. And, I mean, what I really just want to illustrate is just the extent of the problem. I mean, there were thousands of people there from all different nationalities. However, the vast majority of the people there were black Africans or Kurdish. However, there were a couple of East Asians there, but there are thousands of them, and about 95% of them are, in fact, young men. I saw the occasional small child. That was very rare, and I saw the occasional woman. But the fact of the matter is, and this is something that politicians cannot deny, the vast majority of these people coming over are, in fact, young men. In fact,
you can see this from your footage.
Exactly. In fact, when we actually were at the boat launch itself, every single person there was a young man aged between 25 and 30.
Right.
It was astonishing. It was absolutely astonishing. And the cheek of these people to come over into our country when they're already safe in France is quite frankly astounding.
Well, some of this footage will reveal, if you keep watching it, folks, you'll see later on, I think, coaches arriving. So these guys are being brought in by coaches. Are they public transport coaches? Because I've seen the pictures and you can see, you know, they're big coaches, and in the back you can see all their cases and their valises and everything, as if they're going on a holiday or something. So they pitch up in this area, and then these guys who are on the coaches just get out, get their bags, and disappear into this metropolis under the trees. So what kind of coaches were they? Were they public transport or?
No, I believe they were. It was run by a private company. And the coaches themselves...
Like People Smugglers Coaches Transport Limited or something.
Yes, exactly. And we saw them all over the place, and especially in the migrant camp. When we were there on the second day, we saw two of these very big coaches lined up near the, what I like to call the centre of the metropolis, or the town centre. But what was very interesting is we saw coaches picking up migrants from all across the area, such as in Gravelines by the canal. When we found out the boat was cancelled, we saw a coach that we recognised to be from the same company that we saw in the camp itself pick up a group of around 50 migrants and then drive them into the centre of Calais, where they got off and just walked around town until they went to the train station, where they didn't board a train, they just sat there.
So these look to you to be privately hired coaches.
Yes, but what's even more interesting is the relationship between the French police and these coaches, as we witnessed the coach that picked up the migrants at the canal actually receive a police escort, and in fact 2 gendarmerie officers dressed in camouflage, who me and my cameraman had actually seen hanging around in what appears to be a barley field about an hour prior to their emergence by the side of the road to get on board the migrant bus. The police are on these buses as well, at least for a short time, and you can actually see in some of the footage that we have that the police are in fact escorting some of these migrant buses. In fact, the police themselves were let's just say not exactly friendly when we turned up. They were very aggressive, and they pulled up in an unmarked van by our side when we arrived at the camp. We'd been there for about 5 minutes on the second day. The first day we had no issues because it was Bastille Day, and the police were off. But on the second day, on the second morning, we arrived at the camp, and about 5 minutes later, police pull up in an unmarked white van. And they get out, it was 5 officers in total, who got out and gave us so much nonsense you would not believe it.
Well, when you say nonsense, what do you mean?
Because we were there.
No, but what do you mean nonsense? What sort of nonsense?
Well, they took pictures of our IDs, they searched our car, they swabbed our entire car down, God knows what they were doing. And they demanded our credentials, they demanded our passport, they demanded to know where we were staying. And then they came up with a multitude of reasons to try and get us out of the camp itself, between we don't have the right credentials to enter, which is utterly nonsense. Yes, but that's utterly nonsense because this is public land.
Yeah.
And then they said we couldn't film. Well, we can film, we looked that up. And then the most interesting thing they said this to my cameraman rather quietly, was that the people smugglers are armed and dangerous. Now, what I want to ask is, why are the French police wasting resources on going after British journalists and reporters who are going to these camps in Calais to cover an issue which affects us too, quite frankly, more so than them, because they're coming over here in massive droves, tens of thousands. Why are they focusing on stopping people like us from going over there and reporting on this, when they could easily be focusing on the people smugglers who, by their own admission, are in fact armed?
Well, good question. And you also sort of encountered migrants that you think were not paying anything to go across the channel?
Yes.
Going across for free?
Yes, we spoke to several migrants who told us they were going across the channel for free. In fact, we spoke to one migrant who was actually perched by a bus at the Gravelines Canal, which suspiciously was from the exact same company that later came and picked them up, and the same company of buses that we saw at the camp, who told us that the bus was for free. The boat was for free. Who told us the boat was for free, and actually
the migrant told you this?
Yes, and actually jokingly offered us to come along.
Yeah, if he's going for free, I wonder who's paying for his voyage, because they've gone. The price of these voyages has gone down. I mean, not so long ago they were £3,000, and then I read about a couple of months ago that they were way down to about £1,200. Then I heard that some were going for £300, £200, and now you're saying maybe some are going for nothing. Well, those people who are going for nothing, I would suggest, are probably set to join drug dealing gangs over here. They've got roles to play. The gangs are paying for them to come across the channel, and they will be filtered into nefarious organisations over here to help with our crime problem. So that's good, isn't it? Let's bring in Isabel, who's waiting patiently. Isabel, your thoughts on what Nicholas has just been saying? The sheer scale of it, the footage is pretty breathtaking. Thousands and thousands of young men. Nicholas said he saw 1 or 2 women and children, but I didn't see any in any of the footage. So this is a problem of young men who are clearly converging on the area of Calais in vast numbers, somehow or other being brought there by very flashy kind of coaches. They're setting up these, as Nicholas called it, the tent metropolis in the trees back from the coast. The scale of it is enormous, isn't it?
Yes, well, I commissioned this research, if you like, an initial recce, because of course I'm itching to go over there myself. But I commissioned this sort of initial recce just to scope out what is the scale of what we're looking at here. And I've done a little bit more digging on those coaches because I was fascinated to see these white coaches, they're large buses, apparently moving migrants around the area.
Yeah, just looking at one now.
So
Isabel,
these are actually public transport, and the company is clearly marked on the coach. So we have given them a ring. Funnily enough, there was no one there to answer. But actually, I've dug out an article in French, which sheds a bit of light on what's going on here. And effectively, the coach company, I think, unwittingly really is aiding and abetting the whole operation by the people smugglers by transporting migrants from A to B, A being France and B being the drop-off points for getting to the UK. And the French bus drivers hate doing this. I've read their complaints about it. They don't feel it's their job to police who gets on their bus and who doesn't. These are, one way or another, they manage to pay the bus fare. But they make a mess on the bus. It's intimidating. If there are any seats left for locals who might want to be travelling in those areas, it's not very nice for them. And you've got to ask why the French authorities are allowing the bus company to be put in this position. Why should the bus company be facilitating what is a completely illegal racket? So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect that Nicholas talked about there, which really strikes me and I think is an absolute game changer, if it turns out to be the case, is the suggestion that a number of migrants may now be coming over the channel for nothing at all. They are not paying £1,500 or even £1,000. We have the beginnings of evidence that there are migrants who are being given free passage. And is this a kind of have now, pay later scheme operated by the people smugglers who extract their price once these unfortunate individuals get to the UK, where they have to provide services that generate a return for the people smugglers? That, I think, is truly disturbing because it shows that the people trafficking racket that's going on here is rapidly evolving. And wittingly or not, many of the people that are coming over may be forced into criminal activity, even if that's not what they originally planned. I think we need to do a lot more work on this to see, was that a one-off? How many migrants are getting free passage? I can't say at this stage. We need to go back and spend longer. But I think that is very, very significant and extremely disturbing.
Yeah, and the problem is, Isabel and Nicholas, is this, that these people, mostly these young men, they get on these dinghies and these small boats, they come over here, and nobody asks them any questions. Nobody, I think, says, how much did you pay for your ticket, or who did you buy it from, or did you get it for free? What are you going to do while you're here? The problem is once they come here and we accept their asylum application, which we do with almost 100% regularity, once we do that, we just allow them to behave like free people. We know nothing about them. We know nothing. We don't know whether they paid for their tickets or whether they didn't. We don't know how much. We don't know who they got them from. Questions are not being asked of these people. That's at the centre of this problem.
It absolutely is. And I also was really struck by the attitude of the French police towards Nicholas and his colleague who were carrying out this work to help me in order to bring this story to talk. I'm afraid that the French police were very, very aggressive towards them. Now, what that says to me is that the political pressure is mounting on the French side. The political pressure, they are feeling the heat now because we know that they have been given £750 million of UK taxpayers' money. And we here in the UK actually want to see what we're getting for that cash. And the French police are increasingly embarrassed by media footage in the UK press of them standing around doing very little indeed. And there have been these iconic images of them effectively, taking selfies and waving the migrants across their channel on the way to the UK. And that's pretty uncomfortable. It's getting uncomfortable for the French police. So how are they responding to that? Well, they had a choice, which was to raise their game and show us how they're actually tackling the illegal migrants and trying to stop the boats, or the alternative is to try to stop the journalists. And my concern is that they are opting for the latter. They are making it increasingly difficult for reporters and citizen journalists to actually go there and even to film with an iPhone, which they are more than entitled to do. We've looked at the French law on this. There was nothing to stop Nicholas and his colleague being in that area, filming with a smartphone. That is well within the law in France.
Absolutely. Let's go to break now and talk more of this when we come back. Stay where you are, everybody.
It's not hard, is it, to say, look, things are going wrong and we're going to put them right?
No, it's not hard, and the other parties have been so silent. They've sold us out. People do not feel safe, and the basic duty of government is to keep us safe. It's what we pay our taxes for. But police have been cut, prison places, they haven't built enough. They've let in thousands upon thousands of unvetted men who don't have our values, who don't respect women. And to top it all up, we're housing them in nice hotels paid for us.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott and with her partner in journalism, Nicholas Lissac, who went to Calais last week towards the end of the week with a film man colleague and picked up some astonishing footage which just immediately you can see the extent of what's going on over there. And essentially, as you were mentioning, Isabel, we have given this lot over the past few years £771 million to patrol their beaches, allegedly. And I would have thought, Nicholas, to do something about the tent city we've just been looking at. But what I couldn't help noticing in all of your footage, because there's quite a lot of it, folks, and I've been through all of it, conspicuous by their absence in every single shot were the cops. No sign of les gendarmes. They just let these people get on with it.
Yes, exactly, and they also allow aid workers into the camp itself. In fact, when we were there on the second day, moments before the police very conveniently arrived, there were quite a lot of aid workers there who were assisting with the coaches or were handing out food. In fact, there was actually quite a long line for tea and biscuits, and prior to the police's arrival, me and my colleague actually did walk around and start handing people biscuits to put in their coffees. And
Oh, you did that?
yes, we did that, yes.
Was that like your aid convoy? Sort of rich teas?
Oh, I suppose so. I suppose so. Well, I'll tell you what, the migrants were very grateful. They were absolutely ecstatic when they saw I had biscuits with me for their tea and coffee. But there were loads of aid workers around, but the police were nowhere to be seen. And frankly, these migrants, they have the run of the place. In fact, the previous night when we stumbled into this place, we saw migrants riding around on scooters. Yeah. We saw migrants kicking footballs in the street. We saw migrants effectively having the run at the place. I wouldn't be shocked if they have their own law over there.
So, but you did see coppers on the coaches escorting these people?
We did, yes. We saw coppers on the coaches escorting. They were camouflaged under marine. There were 2 officers that we saw. And then we saw a police officer, a police car trailing one of the coaches into Calais, where they pulled off together. They stopped and the officers got off shortly before the bus itself actually entered Calais. But I found that to be remarkably interesting. Why exactly is the French police assisting in the transportation of migrants from boat launch locations into Calais?
Because I think they want to get rid of them, don't they? Yeah, Isabel, just to keep you up to speed with the numbers since last week. Yesterday, only 60 came across, but Saturday 153, Friday 419, and Thursday 398. So for the past 4 days, they've been coming across in pretty significant numbers. As I was just saying to Nicholas, we've handed the police over there over the years £771 million, and we're clearly getting nothing for our money, are we?
I'm just very concerned about the priorities of the French police and just how lackadaisical they are. I mean, at times, my impression from Nicholas and from his footage is almost like the French police are protecting the migrants. You know, Nicholas and his colleague were not allowed to go into one of the encampments. They were very heavily warned off by the police. The police tried to scare them by saying, you know, you do realise the people smugglers have guns. But the way that in which they were giving that warning was not, you know, look out for your own protection. It was more, you know, we don't really want your eyes on what's going on here. And I really do find that very concerning, because the attitude ought to be that this is a shared crisis. You know, we're on the side of the good here. This is a problem we share with the French. And you know, for the good people of France who live in these areas, you know, what is known as the Opal Coast and should be a lovely area for tourism if it wasn't attracting all the wrong type of visitors. This is devastating. You know, Nicholas managed to talk to some locals, and they spoke of their exasperation at the way their whole neighbourhood has been totally marred by this, at the fact that they're afraid to go out at night, the fact that these local buses are overrun with migrants who are behaving badly and are frightening. You know, imagine if you are a French community, what were once lovely towns in that part of France, coastal area, and you've got these people marauding through your town centres every day and all along the roadside, which they are turning into a cesspit. I mean, we actually have photographs of women. You know, we said there were hardly any.
You found some, did you?
There were. Well, what were they doing? There were 2 women in burqas squatting in a ditch, which they had turned into an open-air toilet.
Oh, lovely.
That's what people are having to put up with, you know, rendering that once proud part of France into a little bit of the third world.
I'm going to put a question to both of you, really. So the police, Nicholas, said to you, be careful, the people smugglers have got guns. Just remind me, Isabel, how many people smugglers, gangs, individuals have the police in France caught since they accepted all of our money? I believe the answer's 0. So how do they know that the people smuggling gangs have got guns when they haven't even encountered any?
Well, I'll tell you how they know, because a migrant was recently shot dead. So it's obvious that these people smugglers are upping their violence, upping their aggression. We've already had reports, haven't we, of knives on the boats. But before we run out of time, I really want to just talk and give Nicholas the opportunity to talk about the irony of the difficulty he had getting back into Britain. You know, he's a British citizen, a British passport holder, and while the migrants flow into this country unimpeded across the Channel, what happens when British citizens arrive back from that part of Calais, Nicholas? Perhaps you can describe the welcome that you received back into Britain.
And by the way, next time you come across the Channel to come back to Britain, get yourself a small boat or a dinghy, and you get in, no questions asked. But what happened to you?
Well, firstly, maybe I might take them up on their offer of the free boat journey.
Yeah, it's free. You get straight in. You get a nice hotel. Come on, it's a good offer.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I would have had a much warmer welcome if I'd gone that way. The border authorities were absolutely.
This was where coming into.
This is coming into Britain itself.
What, at Dover?
This was on the French side.
Oh, the French side.
And they were incredibly paranoid and of what I was potentially up to and what I was doing. They asked us about 1 billion questions. They then took us into the shed to have our cars searched. Our passports were taken. We then had to answer a whole other level of questions. We had to exit our vehicle as they swabbed us down. They opened all of our doors. They looked through the bonnet. They looked through the crevices in the seats. They looked through the drinks, the cup holders. It was absolutely ridiculous. We were treated like we were criminals, like we ourselves were smugglers. We're British citizens trying to go home. You know, it's utterly ridiculous.
We're journalists.
Exactly. And what I find especially bizarre is
low-level officials never like journalists everywhere you go.
Oh no, they certainly don't. They took our passports around 15 minutes.
Yeah.
What exactly did they need? Did they need our passports for 15 minutes? We're British citizens. We're allowed to come back into the country, aren't we?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I suppose they can search if they want.
Well, yes, but I do find it rather intriguing how they subjected us to, dare I say, a bit of an over-the-top search. When migrants are allowed to come across the Channel with impunity, they get put in hotels and nobody seems to care in the government.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just ridiculous. So the only time they get vigilant is with people like you, but not with the actual migrants. Did you see any engagement between... I mean, as we've just been discussing, your footage is remarkable for its absence of coppers. Did you see any engagement between coppers and migrants?
Well, I can only but assume they were engaging on the bus they were on altogether. But aside from that, no, there was no engagement whatsoever. Pretty much the police were there simply to stop us from getting into the camp. But, you know, the police aren't always there, and we managed to get in, and that's how we obtained the footage. But the camp itself is incredibly vast. There are an army of military-aged young men over near Dunkirk, near Calais, ready to come over into the country to live off benefits and do God knows what. Yeah,
it's extraordinary. As I say, they've been coming in since last Thursday, folks, every day. Admittedly, not quite as... many the last couple of days. Yesterday 60, Saturday 153, Friday 419, Thursday 398, and still they come, and still this government hasn't got the faintest idea what to do. He talks about smashing the gangs, as I say. Keir Starmer hasn't even, or his people haven't even found a single gang, let alone smashed any. And even if they didn't, it wouldn't make any difference. There'd be new gangs in the morning. You could smash as many gangs as you like. As long as there are migrants, there will be new gangs. So the whole premise of Starmer's strategy is ludicrous, and now he's playing swap a foreigner with Macron. Here, I'll give you one of ours if you give us one of yours. What the hell does that achieve? And as I said last week, the swap a foreigner scheme will not get off the ground. They will not get a single migrant to France under that dog's dinner of a deal. They really won't. Nicholas, listen, thank you for coming in, and good work in northern France, and keep us posted with developments. You're going to stick around, Isabel, and we'll talk about more aspects, more ramifications of what happens when you let in thousands and thousands and thousands of undocumented young men about whom we know nothing. We'll talk about that next, and the extraordinary crime wave that is now unfolding before our very eyes as more hundreds of these migrants are charged with very serious offences, some of them sex offences. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, we've been talking about what's going on in Calais. Let me know what you think about that, those pictures, the scale of how many of these young men, nearly all young men, waiting to come across from northern France in the towns and the areas around Calais. It's extraordinary. You saw then thousands and thousands of them milling around, many of them living in these tent cities underneath the trees back from the beaches. Clearly the police just sort of monitoring them and letting them go to the beaches and then get on the boats. I think the picture we've got going on here is that the police are kind of basically helping to wave goodbye to their migrants so we can look after them, as we always suspected. Anyway, so I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, and let's talk about these extraordinary stories that hit the press over the weekend, Isabel. Both the Sun and the Mail on Sunday doing enormous investigations into the crime wave that is unfolding before our very eyes, thanks to all these asylum seekers all over the country, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. An investigation by the Mail on Sunday revealed that at least 312 asylum seekers have been charged with 708 alleged criminal offences in 3 years. These statistics centre on only 70 of the 220 hotels currently accommodating migrants. But these numbers include 18 charges of rape, 5 of attempted rape and 35 of sexual assault. Meanwhile, on Friday, a small boater was sentenced to 14 months in prison for sexually assaulting an extremely vulnerable teenage girl with learning difficulties in a London park in broad daylight. This Eritrean guy, name of Aaron Hadshish, came to the UK illegally on a small boat 3 years ago and was living in a migrant hotel near Heathrow. and he apparently found his victim's distress as he pinned her to the ground in broad daylight extremely funny. There, he was laughing his head off, apparently. Well, he won't be laughing now. He's got 14 months, which, by the way, is significantly less than Lucy Connolly got for posting hurty words on Twitter during last summer's riots. Something wrong there. But we have a picture here of more and more of these migrants, not only being charged with serious crimes, but the tinderbox, the powder keg, is more and more of them are being charged with sex crimes, with rape, with sexual assault, sexual harassment. And that is a recipe for disaster, because as in Epping, when local communities find out that the asylum seekers who've been foisted upon them are being charged with sex crimes, it's incendiary. It is incendiary. That's what's happening in Epping, and it will happen elsewhere. This is out of control, isn't it?
And I think there's an awful lot of secrecy surrounding what is really going on. It takes a lot of hard work, actually, as a journalist to uncover just how many crimes are being committed by asylum seekers, because the data inexplicably isn't collected in that form, or at least if it is collected, it's not routinely or ever, in fact, published unless you ask under freedom of information or go cross-checking any court documents you can with the addresses given for the defendants, and then see that the address is actually a migrant hotel. So in other words, the government makes it very, very difficult for reporters to actually cast any light on this. They would much rather tell you how many crimes have been committed by foreign nationals, but not tell you what the immigration status is of those foreign nationals. Of course, the UK has plenty of foreign nationals who are not actually asylum seekers living in migrant hotels. So it's great that journalists are plugging away on this. It's something that we've tried to do a lot over the last year on Talk. We've had a lot of help from a brilliant guy called Tony Tucker, who puts in endless freedom of information requests to different police forces. And that is one of the ways that you can actually tease out these statistics. And they're truly frightening. You know, I've seen those FOI replies, and, you know, the scale of this is absolutely off the chart. And that's only, you know, what is being recorded. There's an awful lot more, I'm sure, that goes on that never actually gets as far as to police.
And at one hotel in London, in the Barbican, it's called the Thistle Hotel. I remember when it was a rather nice hotel. They used to have kind of quite posh showbiz functions there that I've attended. But anyway, the Thistle Hotel in London's Barbican, quite a nice area, is now home to a load of asylum seekers, and is a real crime hotspot. It's a one hotel crime wave. 41 asylum seekers there staying at the Thistle Hotel in the Barbican have been accused of crimes including sexual assault, arson, theft, burglary, carrying knives, violent assault and drug offences. This is one hotel, 41 asylum seekers. The Sun on Friday published a story saying that their research indicated that in the first 6 months of this year, 339 asylum seekers have been charged or accused of serious crimes. This is spiralling, and it isn't surprising, Isabel, because what we do is thousands of young men that we know nothing about pitch up on our south coast, and we just let them in, put them in hotels and say, do what the hell you like. And guess what? It turns out some of them aren't very nice people. By the law of averages, you're always going to get some of these people would commit crimes. Now, the statistics are rising alarmingly in terms of sex crimes. And these people come from cultures with very different sexual attitudes to ours. That's the problem.
It absolutely is. And, you know, there is such a veil of secrecy over how these individuals are behaving behind closed doors in these migrant hotels, for which the British taxpayer is forking out vast sums of money. You know that everybody who goes to work inside those migrant hotels has to sign confidentiality contracts. Companies like Serco that operate these hotels, that manage them, put the fear of God, frankly, into the generally not particularly well-paid staff who are forced to deal with these migrants, cleaners and so on, the mess that they make, the disrespect that they show, the kind of behaviours that's going on in bedrooms there. I mean, again, I've spoken to a cleaner who worked inside one of these hotels, absolutely horrific stories of what is witnessed there. But this stuff doesn't get out into the public domain because the staff that work in these hotels are gagged. I look forward to the day when someone manages to get in there and expose what's going on. Perhaps someone's going to be brave enough to leave a job there and come and talk to us on this radio station about what's really going on. Because trust me, we don't know the half of it. I think the mind boggles.
I'm not saying anything, Isabel, but the audience might want to tune in tomorrow night. You never know what might crop up on our schedule tomorrow. What I would say to all of these workers who are working in these hotels who've signed these non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, if you say anything, you'll be taken to court. Don't worry about them. Chuck them in the bin. They have no strength legally whatsoever. Say what you like, they're against British law. So don't worry about these ridiculous documents that your worried employers get you to sign. If you want to say anything, say something, and they can't do anything about it. It's just a scare tactic. NDAs, they're just toilet paper that lawyers issue. Seriously, don't worry about them. We will go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the Afghani migrant scandal, the secret scandal, and what Greece are doing to sort their migrant crisis out, something that we might want to take a leaf out of their book about. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
It's not hard, is it, to say, look, things are going wrong and we're going to put them right?
No, it's not hard, and the other parties have been so silent. They've sold us out. People do not feel safe, and the basic duty of government is to keep us safe. It's what we pay our taxes for. But police have been cut, prison places, they haven't built enough. They've let in thousands upon thousands of unvetted men who don't have our values, who don't respect women. And to top it all up, we're housing them in nice hotels paid for us.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. And we need to talk about the Afghan migrants now. Here's what's annoying. When they're now talking about, apparently, the numbers keep changing on this. Have you noticed? Depends what paper you're reading, what politician you're listening to. The numbers are always different. But it seems as if now the number of Afghani migrants secretly allowed into Britain is 36,000 under this secret scheme where we airlifted them from Afghanistan, or rather we got them into Pakistan and then airlifted them from there. This is what's annoying me. Now, first of all, we learn in the papers over the weekend that these migrants were coming and bringing all their their dependents with them, their families with them. And one migrant, for example, turned up or said, they said, yes, you can come back under the safety scheme. You're on the Taliban kill list. And he said, OK, if I bring 22 family members with me. And we went, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Do you know what I'm sick of? Do you know what I'm sick of? I'm sick of listening to pompous idiots like Ben Wallace and Grant Shapps hiding behind the easy veil of we were trying to save lives, we were just trying to save lives. It's not that easy to be a minister of the realm. That isn't good enough. You shouldn't have been letting in people with 22 family members, and I bet you that person with 22 family members didn't help us during the war. They made no efforts to check who was on these lists, 100,000 people apparently. They basically just said, oh, the kill list is out, so we'll have to let in everybody who asks. And now they're acting all statesman, like lives were at risk. We had no choice. Yes, you did. You could have done your job properly and actually checked those lists to find out who genuinely helped the Brits during the Afghanistan war. Altogether, it was no more than about 3,000 or 4,000, if that. The idea that 100,000 were encompassed in this kill list, and that Ben Wallace and Grant Shapps said, oh, you can all come, no problem. Let's take out a super injunction, make sure that the people of Britain don't know about this because they'll go mad. Of course they'll go mad because you weren't doing your jobs properly. This is a disgrace, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, I don't think that we yet know the half of it. And I think it's really raised so many questions of public trust in other stories that we're told by the government. You know, I'm beginning to wonder, for example, is there much more we're not being told about what we were talking about earlier, the number of crimes being committed by asylum seekers? Are there other cover-ups which are protected by this injunction or that injunction? And, you know, if people cast their minds back to that awful time when we made that very sort of hasty and disorganized withdrawal from Afghanistan, I mean, every man, woman and dog was trying to claim some kind of connection to Britain. Understandably, you know, why wouldn't you give it a go? I myself was getting multiple approaches through X. I'm sure many of our listeners, anyone with any connections or perceived to have any connections, will have been getting these sort of very sad, almost begging letters saying, can you help me get out? You know, I can see you've got contacts, etc. I did this, I did that for the British Armed Forces. And some of it will have been true, and a great deal of it will have been very, very tenuous.
Yeah, untrue. Most of it will be untrue. Most of those people on that list were lying. They were trying it on, and they didn't get asked any questions by Ben Wallace, Grant Shapps, our gormless government, the officials or anything. They just let them in. And when they talk about, well, lives were at risk, as if that trumps everything else. Well, listen, what we do know is on that list were people who'd applied to come back before and were rejected because they were sex offenders. And now, because they were then found to be on the Taliban kill list, they were allowed into our country, into Britain's country. So there we have these pompous Tory ministers that, I have no regrets, I'd do it again, lives were at risk. Busy letting in known sex offenders into this country, not really worrying too much about the safety implications of that, far more obsessed with polishing their own halos, saying how many Afghani lives they're saving. What about the safety of British citizens? What about the safety of women on these streets here in this country? They didn't seem to think about that very much, did they?
No, and they compounded their appalling blunders here by apparently telling an awful lot of the people who came over that they need never work again if they don't want to. I mean, that is completely and utterly bonkers. What, come over here and live indefinitely off the British taxpayer? That is insane. And, you know, sure.
In housing that we provide, they'll get free housing for life, free social housing, council housing. They all leapfrog to the top of local social housing, council housing queues over Brits who've been waiting for years. They leapfrog to the top of the charts, were given these houses and told you can live in those for the rest of your lives. And as you quite rightly say, they were also told you'll get welfare for life. If you'd like to work in our country, you can. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. This is massive prioritisation of the wants and the needs and the desires of foreigners over the wants and the needs and the desires of British citizens. And if Ben Wallace and Grant Shapps think they're proud of that, I've got something to say to them. Particularly Grant Shapps, who, by the way, who is completely rewriting history, saying, well, I must admit, I was kind of surprised that the super injunction stayed in position for so long. I'll tell you why it stayed into position for so long, because he kept going back to court to persuade the judges not to lift them. He personally persuaded judge after judge not to lift the injunction because, of course, drum roll, lives were at risk. So every judge was going, this is ridiculous. £7 billion airlift, and you're keeping this a secret from the people. Oh, well, you see, the thing is, Your Honour, if you don't keep this super injunction in place, people will die. So they reluctantly were signing. Grant Shapps completely rewriting history. Ben Wallace brought the super injunction in. To be fair to him, he was gone within 4 months. He didn't think it was going to last that long. But I don't think that any government minister, I can't believe they ever thought of a super injunction, and I don't think any government should be allowed to use a super injunction again to keep secrets from the electorate who voted them into power. Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, and what a great pity that no parliamentarian did test the law on this and use parliamentary privilege to bust the secret, because I think that at the very least, there is a powerful legal argument that they could have done so. And I really don't think any parliamentarian would have gone to prison for that, do you? So I think they should have given that a go and stood up for what was right and brought that to the public attention much sooner. I think the other question this raises, we haven't really touched on, is this class action that's now being brought by depressingly predictably, some hideous ambulance chasing law firm that is now suing the government for compensation on behalf of Afghans whose name were on this list. I mean, I really think that if you come to our country and you are given sanctuary, then part of the condition of that should be that you lose all right to sue the British government. You perhaps should be made to sign a disclaimer at the point at which you are given sanctuary and asylum in our country that you don't also get to sue the British government.
Yeah, exactly right. We saved their lives and they're repaying us with their gratitude by suing us for £1 billion. The MOD is actually saying, I read over the week, they're saying, oh, no Afghani migrants will be compensated by the Ministry of Defence or by the government. Yeah, well, I'll believe that one, I say. I bet you we do end up giving them hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds. Welcome to Mad Britain. Just before you go, I was impressed by Greece's attitude to their escalating migrant crisis. They have, literally tens of thousands a week of young men coming over from North Africa to the Greek islands, particularly Crete, but many of the Greek islands. And this has become such a crisis that their immigration minister, their exasperated immigration minister, Thanos Plevris, has just announced, if you come here, we will put you in jail or send you home. We are now telling you that if you sail in illegally by boat to Greece, do not expect asylum, but get ready for 5 years in jail or a ticket home instead. I bet you that solves their migrant crisis. The thing is, they're in the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. We keep being told we can't do this because we're in the ECHR. We can't stop the boats because we're in the ECHR. How come Greece can?
Well, because they've done what we should do, and they've got a temporary get-out clause from the ECHR on the basis that they're facing a national emergency. Well, I mean, so are we. Has anyone looked at the numbers lately? The fact that they've been able to do this just shows just how possible it is for us to do it. It's just that the political will is not there. And, Greece is a collection of many, many, many islands. Their problem of protecting their own coast is far more complex than ours. but they have taken a very, very clear stand on this. People are not being given a good time who rock up.
They're not. Isabel, brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Isabel Oakeshott there, our international editor. Back with Dame Andrea Jenkins after the news. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum, and much still to come. We'll be taking your calls in about half an hour. 03444 991 1000. You know what we're talking about. We're talking about the escalating migrant crisis. You saw those pictures in northern France around Calais that we were showing you, the sheer scale of it. Thousands of young men waiting. And when they get here, it looks like more and more of them are at least being accused of committing sex crimes. Some of them have been convicted, so it's not just the crimes they're committing, it's the type of crimes, and there are disturbing signs that the statistics in terms of sex crimes are on the way up, so more and more sex crimes are being allegedly committed by our asylum seeker friends, so that is something to worry about, don't you think? 03444 499 1000, and let me know what you think about the fact that when the government lowered the drawbridge and said to pretty much every other Afghanistan citizen, oh yeah, I'm sure you helped us, why don't you come back? We didn't seem to ask any questions. All these people who said, oh yeah, I was really, really close to the British, I helped them throughout the war, oh, you can come back. Loads of them lying quite clearly. One of them, who should have been shown the door, he was on the kill list, the Taliban kill list, so they said, OK, you can come back. He said, can I bring 22 family members, relatives? And we went, yeah, OK. 22. So how many of these people on the kill list were allowed to bring back, you know, tens of their relatives, 10 of their relatives, 15. It's just ridiculous. No questions asked. I'm not having the Ben Wallaces and the Grant Shapps of this world acting like they were really statesmanlike during this sordid period where they screwed up on a massive scale by leaking that data breach and then took out a seedy little super injunction to keep the secret of this complete screw-up, this complete mess from the public. And they're acting like, oh, it was saving lives. No, no, no. It was grubby what you did. It was seedy, keeping secrets from the people who voted for you. And you say it's about saving lives. It wasn't that, was it? Do me a favour. And even if it was your job to look through that list. Somebody should have been checking. Did they really help us? Somebody phoned up, say, well, just ask them in English. If they work with the English, test their English. How good is their English? If they can't speak English, they probably weren't interpreters, were they, if you see what I mean? 03444 991 Right. For the next half an hour or so, really pleased to announce that I'm going to be joined by the excellent Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Welcome, Andrea.
Evening, Kevin. Good to see you again.
Always a pleasure. Well, can we talk about the big Reform UK moment today? First, I've got a number of issues I want to chat to you about, but Nigel Farage announcing that if he was in power, he would bring about a large crackdown on British crime. Zero tolerance for crime, saturation stop and search in high crime areas, so that maybe as many as 1 in 5 people got stopped and searched. And also, I think a lot of people interested in this, that the most serious offenders may be forced to spend or serve their sentences in foreign jails, including El Salvador's notorious supermax prisons. That's where Donald Trump has been housing some of America's worst crooks. So a general, and he said, of course, that Reform UK won't be letting out dangerous prisoners, it will be locking them up, which seems to be the kind of right way around, if you see what I mean. But your thoughts on Nigel's announcement today that a Reform UK government would get to grips with lawless Britain?
It's music to my ears, Kevin. Look, even when I was a Tory MP, I've been saying for, 9-10 years that no crime should be too small to go unpunished, and the Conservatives didn't take that strong on crime approach as they should have done, but with Nigel we've finally got there. And I liked how he said he will end the early release system, he'll take back control of our streets, because let's face it, we are out of control as a country. We'll build more prisons, and this zero tolerance approach. But also, one line that I really loved, actually, Kevin, which I think sums it up, if we get into government in 2029, to criminals out there, be a law-abiding citizen or you will face serious justice. And that is the kind of message that we need to be putting out there.
Absolutely. And what about this, the El Salvador Supermax plan? I mean, I think it's a good idea, to be honest with you. It sent a serious message to the lawless migrants of America.
Even better than my tent idea. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, get them out of the tents and over to El Salvador. But I mean, you know that the Bleeding Heart mob will go human rights and all that, but what rights do they have? They want to break our laws. That these would be serious criminals. If we want to send them to prison in El Salvador, we can, can't we?
I mean, this has got to go hand in hand with what we've been saying for a long time in reform to come out the ECHR. Now, I noticed Suella was trying to say her plan for coming out the ECHR. It ain't going to happen under the Tories. Look, I got 50,000 signatures with the Conservative Post. They still would not listen. The Conservatives won't deliver that. Only reform will deliver that. Will deliver this strong policing. So with reform, we'll get control.
What do you think Suella Braverman's up to? I mean, she seems to stay within the warm embrace of the declining Tory party, coming up with this stuff today. Here's how we could leave the ECHR. I don't see why we need a massive blueprint on how to leave the ECHR. We just leave. We just leave. You see, I've got quite a lot of time for Suella, but, she's a lawyer, so everything must be done at great length, far too complex, and so on and so forth. But what's she up to, though? Why is she messing around with this stuff within the Tories, who are terrified to disturb the universe? What does she think she's doing?
I think she's trying to stay relevant in a party what's dying. I think that's what she's doing. Look, I saw her couple of weeks ago at Nana Aqua's birthday party, engagement party. I know you know Nana as well. And she was there, and I just asked her straight out, you know, why have you not defected to Reform? And she said, oh, my association, I really care about them. I said, can your association save Britain? I said, it seems to me that you're coming up with lame excuses. And my gut feeling, if I'm honest, I might be wrong, I think she sent Raoul across to try and you know, spy on things, and now she's staying in the Conservative Party. But I don't think she's brave enough to make the jump. I mean, I remember, she'll be annoyed at me saying this, but when during the Brexit years, David Davis, another one of the Brexit ministers, resigned en masse. If you remember, Boris resigned. She should have resigned as well as a junior Brexit minister, but she chickened out. She waited 6 months, and I collared her in the voting lobby. I said, "Why the hell did you not resign en masse?" And I remember she said, "Oh, not everybody's brave," and she waited 6 months. So I spoke to her about that the other day. Sorry, a couple of weeks ago when I saw her. I said, "Look, the thing is, the longer that people leave it and wait, they just look desperate, and then you know we wouldn't have you anyway if people are acting like that." So.
Well, I keep asking her on the show. And we get these kind of indications. Oh yes, Suella's really pleased, really keen to come on. But she never does. And I think you might have hit the nail on the head. I'm not necessarily saying this in a pejorative way, but I think she lacks a bit of political courage. I really do. I think she's scared.
No, I think so.
She's scared to take the step that most of us believe she probably should take, and that is to join you guys.
And also, actually, I mean, look at the stuff what's happened with the Afghanistan coming over. Look, I resigned to fight for Brexit. You know, it's okay saying I spoke up in cabinet, but all these are saying they spoke up in cabinet. If they was really genuinely disgusted, they should have resigned. And you know, cause this domino effect to push back on things.
Yes, indeed. But the crime initiative by Nigel Farage, you're happy that he could fund it. I think he talked in terms of it maybe costing about £17 billion to get coppers back on the streets. But we need to do that, don't we? You know, we every time everybody says, well, whatever happened to bobbies on the beat? What happened to coppers on the street? Oh, well, we can't afford them anymore. Well, when we did have them on the street...
They're going into marches raising flags, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly right. Well, when we did have coppers on the streets, though, bobbies walking the beat, we had far less crime. Now it's going through the roof. So surely, you know, putting money into getting coppers onto the streets shouldn't be a luxury option. It should be an absolute necessity.
No, I remember going on Mike's show on Talk years ago and saying we should get back to the 80s where we drag people off the street if they've got behaviour like this. And we really should. You know, we've got to be tough on crime. I mean, I thought the 80s was great with the police on the beat, didn't you?
Well, of course.
A lot more rougher. But do you know something? How many people would give like jip to a police officer in the 80s like they do now?
Indeed. I mean, I think Nigel Farage's initiative will
I think it's brilliant.
Strike a chord.
I'm really proud to be in Reform, especially when things like this are coming out.
Well, you know, the other parties aren't doing anything and the police aren't doing anything, so something has to be done. You wanted to talk about an oil refinery in Lincolnshire, and it's been closed down. Tell us about this.
Right, so it's Prax Lindsay Oil Refinery, and it's you know, the fifth biggest one in the UK. It's strategically important. They've even got a direct oil line to Heathrow. Now, I've twice had calls with the minister, and the first call is gone into receivership. The management company's been in there, and I've always felt that speaking to the minister that there's this laissez-faire attitude. He doesn't particularly care, and I mean today he was saying different things to what I'm hearing on the ground. He was saying that it's not affecting local filling stations. There's not a shortage. Well, it is. You know, I've had it on the ground. The workers tell me this. The workers have told me that the management company have said it's a viable business. It just needs good leadership. And I think that they're actually letting it go on ideological grounds. because simply, you know, they've got an ideological stance against oil, all because of net zero.
Yeah.
And
how many jobs? How many?
Import it, and then you have more wind farms and solar in fields than actually producing oil. It's ridiculous.
How many jobs are at risk here, Andrea?
Well, including the permanent contractors, it's over 800. But there's also a local hotel who's may need to close down as well. It's the effective services that actually support it. So it's going to be, you know, I think 1,000 or more. And I mean, if we've been looking at the figures, the Exchequer figures, you're talking, I mean, they get quite good salaries as well. National insurance alone, it's tens of millions of pounds the Exchequer is going to lose, and it's going to cost £1 billion to get the ground ready to be brownfield again. So the government's got to put money into it. And so, and I asked as well of the minister, I said, look, you know, how many companies came forward to actually want to buy it, and he didn't seem to have much information. So I think that, look, I'm asking people of businesses of Britain, please invest in Lindsey Oil Refinery. You know, we need oil. We can't be importing it. It's local jobs. But I want to support these people as well. To whatever happens, I will be there supporting them with a package to help.
Absolutely. Talking of importation. In your area, are you aware of any of these secret Afghani migrants being billeted into the area of Greater Lincolnshire?
I'm not, but that'll be the county and district councils. I mean, the district councils are responsible for that. But I know we have got migrant hotels, which we need to put a stop to. I mean, like you said, what was it, 22?
Yeah, one turned up and said, can I bring 22 family members with me? And we, the dumb British...
Was it all wives, by the way?
Probably, yeah. I mean, but we just said yes. I mean, shouldn't the kind of instinctive reply to someone who says, is it okay to bring 22 family members with me? It should be no, it isn't. You're going to have to whittle them down. I mean, what annoys me about this, well, there's so many things that annoys me about it. I'd be interested to hear your take, Andrea. But it's, you know, clearly it's outrageous for a government to take out a super injunction to keep secrets from the people that elected it. Not because it's anything to do with saving lives. They took out that super injunction so we didn't find out about the heinous...
Until after the election.
The egregious nature of that data breach leak and the fact that hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of these people were going to be shipped in, airlifted into this country secretly. It wasn't to do with saving lives. They're just hiding behind that, if you ask me. But what are your thoughts about this? That amid this, quite clearly, what I'm saying is, Ben Wallace, Grant Shapps, it was incumbent upon them. They were the Defence Secretary. It's also incumbent upon Rishi Sunak, the then Prime Minister, the Cabinet,
the whole Cabinet,
to go through this list of 100,000 Afghanis who applied to come here, who said, yeah, we helped the British. We know 100,000 Afghanis didn't help the British. So we've let 36,000 in so far under this scheme. Nowhere near 36,000 helped us. They reckon if you were right at the upward end of the estimation of how many Afghans helped the British throughout that war would be fewer than 4,000. Fewer than. It may even just have been in the hundreds. And yet we essentially said yes to 100,000 people, no questions asked. We should have been asking questions. What did they think they were doing?
No, I agree with you. And I think it was a political decision. And look, I was an MP at the time. You know, why did we not get briefings on this? I would have, you know, spoke out about it. And I think looking at the Cabinet as well, look how many of them now are saying, taking a strong stance on it, yet at the time they was welcoming the Afghan refugees. So I think what people like is honesty, don't they? And it clearly was a political decision because it was held back until after the election as well. And I feel very saddened about that. I mean, that's on Rishi's watch, wasn't it? And all the Cabinet there who dealt with it. And yeah, it's just wrong. Like you said, why did people not question it? And even if the cabinet did question it, why didn't they actually do something about it?
Yeah, you got Ben Wallace saying, "But no regrets," and Grant Shapps going, "I'd do it all again." Well, if you got no regrets and you do it all again, then you really, really weren't fit for office, and you must never come back to government, because the idea of an elected government taking out a sort of celebrity-style super injunction, the kind of injunction that celebrities and actors and rock stars take out to cover up their philandering. The idea of a government taking out a super injunction to keep secrets from the people who elected them, that has to stop. That must never be allowed again, don't you think?
No, I mean, I'd expect that with a Labour Party, but not with a Conservative Party. That's why I feel very saddened, actually, that it was them. And I was part of that party at the time. It's, what the hell was the thinking? Things like this, people find out, for God's sake, and why would you keep that from the public? You're there to represent the public.
Yeah, and people like you, MPs, they weren't allowed to know. That's an outrageous betrayal of democracy.
How can you scrutinise a government? And as you know, I was a big critic of my own government at the time, and it shows you the lack of scrutiny.
Yeah, the Intelligence Security Committee was not allowed to know. And these people have full security clearance. They weren't allowed to know. No. It's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. I don't think Wallace or Shapps or any of the people who were in power then, I heard Michael Gove sort of rather proudly saying, "Yes, I knew about it. We did the right thing to save lives." Well, I'll tell you what you did, Michael. I'll tell you what you did, Grant. I'll tell you what you did, Ben and Rishi. You broke the umbilical cord of trust between governments and the people. How can we trust any government ever again? We need to be told definitively that never again will a government take out a super injunction. Now, everybody accepts governments have to keep secrets. Well, that's their job. They shouldn't be able to take out legal lawsuits to keep the public from knowing about what they're up to. That has to stop.
I'd love to see, wouldn't you, some statistics these has come over, how many's gone on to commit crimes as well in Britain.
Well, that will come up because the statistics generally about asylum seeker crime are beginning to explode into the public arena. And when we find out that some of these Afghani migrants who came here secretly on these mass airlifts, if we find out any of them are responsible for alleged crimes or convictions, all hell's going to break loose. It really is. It really is. Listen, let's go to break, Andrew. And when we come back, we'll talk about this shocking incident involving a homeless veteran on a train. He was kicked off for not paying his fare. He had the cash, but the guard wouldn't accept the cash. What's that all about? We'll talk about that after these messages. Stay tuned.
We are lifted upside down and shaken for our 170 odd quid a year for output that is appalling, nothing like it was in terms of quality 20 or 30 years ago, that literally debacle after outrage after scandal, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. The only way that we change this by way of the BBC becoming accountable and indeed the quality of output improving, I mean, so God help us, is that they stand on their own 2 feet and become a subscription-only service.
Org. Across the UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're still with the Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, the Reform UK star, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Andrea, before we're going to go and talk to a lady called Anne-Marie in just a minute. She was a witness to what happened on this train where a poor homeless military veteran was kicked off for not having his fare or not paying his fare. He had the money, but they wouldn't accept it. We'll talk about that in just a second. Just wanted to get your take on this, because this is happening as we speak. So we've been watching the disturbances, the riots, if you like, in Epping, in Essex, to the north of London, where they've got a Asylum hotel right in the middle of their rather small town. Well, we're hearing now, I think we got some footage, that in the Norfolk town of Diss, as you can see, there is a similar big gathering building up right now. And this is outside Diss's local asylum seeker hotel, where again the locals fear that these migrants staying in their local hotel are committing crimes, including alleged sex crimes. Now, so we've seen what's happening in Epping. This is in Diss as we're speaking right now, a big gathering of people to protest about their asylum seeker hotel. My fear, Andrea, is this is going to be the portrait of the rest of the summer. We're going to have these kind of demonstrations all over the country, don't you fear?
I don't fear. I think it's right, actually. Yeah. I mean, look, the French do it good at protesting, don't they, over stuff like this? Look, the public's had enough, and good on them. Do you see the lady there with a pram with a little child in there? You know, this is just regular people. It's families, it's mums and dads, it's grandparents who's worried about their children's future. And we should be worried. I'm worried about my son's future with a state. It is lawless Britain, as Nigel said. Yeah,
what I think is important, when you have these protests, as you say, very valid protests, mostly by the local community.
It's got to be calm and not obviously escalate.
So the local community constitute most of these protesters in Epping. They're saying this asylum seeker hotel in the middle of our town makes the streets unsafe for our daughters, for our wives, for everybody in this town. And then, of course, you get the renter mobs come in from both the left and the right. And, of course, all the media and the politicians start going, disgraceful.
That becomes the focus, doesn't it?
Disgraceful scenes, you know, far right thugs, far left thugs.
Like we saw last summer, didn't we?
Exactly. But it detracts from the reality, the truth about these protests, that most of them are genuine local people worried about safety on the streets. And that shouldn't be overshadowed, should it?
No, but the media, especially the left-wing media, they will focus on that.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
Fact of it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of this over the summer. Well, listen, let's start talking about our homeless veteran on the train. We don't know his name, but the story was he's on a train, and the guard turns up and says, have you got your ticket? He didn't have a ticket, but he offered to pay for his ticket in cash. The guard says you can't buy tickets on the train. So the lady that we're going to talk to in just a second, Anne-Marie Miles, she stood up and says, I'll pay for it with my phone. And the guard says, no, you can't buy tickets on the train. It's like a computer says no situation. Bureaucratic claptrap, if you ask me. But Anne-Marie, who we'll talk to in a second, it struck her that we ought to treat our homeless military veterans with a bit more respect. Why don't we give them free public transport? Let's get Anne-Marie on now, shall we? So welcome to the show, Anne-Marie Miles. Hello, Anne-Marie.
Good evening.
Tell us what you saw. Tell us the story.
Right, so I travel on the train every day to work from Scarborough to York. I'm a care manager for Age UK. So I've seen this gentleman once before, and he appeared homeless. He had a shopping trolley with loads of belongings in and a little dog. So that's what I'd noticed at first. And he left his trolley on the platform and got on the train. And then I saw him having a discussion as the train set off with the ticket conductor. So I thought, oh, I bet he's not got any money for his train. So I looked and he was visibly crying. So I went over and said, have you not got any money for your train, love? And he went, no, I have. And he had screwed up £5 notes in his hand. She won't let me buy a ticket on the train. It was a lady conductor. So I said, well, why can't I buy a ticket on the train? She's not allowed. I says, well, I've seen people on this train, I get it every day, buy a ticket on the train. I says, can I win one on my smartphone? She went, no, he's getting off at Moulton.
Well, she was determined to kick him off the train.
Yeah. So I went, so he was sat down and he was crying. So I moved on my laptop and things, my work things, and went and sat with him and I just got chatting. And he says, I were an engineer in the engineer regiment. And I says, really? I says, my husband's a veteran. He served 23 years. He says, and this is the treatment you get. He said, I've been to visit my son in Scarborough. Didn't say much more. He said he wasn't homeless when I questioned him, but he was too proud. I believe he was too proud. So when we got to Moulton, I says, listen, I'll get off the train with you and I'll sort you out a ticket. And he went, no, I'll do it myself. And he got off the train, and the last I saw, that man was sat on a bench with his dog and his belongings. Now, I've reached out to a military community to try to find this man. I do have his name. What I believe is he told me his name on my phone, but I didn't want to make it public because it's not fair.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, let's pay him that respect. But he was a military man. He's on the streets, and we've just been talking, Andrea, haven't we, about how these Afghanis have all come over, 36,000 of them, to be given free social housing and welfare for the rest of their lives. I think, Anne-Marie, the problem with your friend is he's British. He should be a foreigner. If he's foreigner, there's nothing we won't do for them. But if you're British, and particularly if you're a military veteran, we'll do nothing for you. What is going wrong with our country, Andrea?
I really don't know. Since Andrea posted it yesterday on X, the hate that our veterans get, I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted. I have never seen anything like it in my life, to the point today at work, I didn't look anymore. I didn't want to read it.
So what's going wrong, Andrea? Why don't we show Anne-Marie's friend the respect he deserves? At the very least, can't we offer all of our veterans, military veterans, free public transport? Wouldn't that be a small gesture that would be in order?
I think the issue is that British people are the back of the queue. And I think the contrast of what we're seeing at the moment, you know, with the Afghanistanis who came over and the boat people, for them to get in hotels, they get all these things. And for a veteran to get thrown off a train, it's just abhorrent, isn't it? And I mean, this is why myself, I'm setting up a veterans village as mayor. I made that pledge to help its temporary accommodation of about 18 months, 2 years to help support people. It's going to be packaged there with mental health support, get people back into work, and then help them move back into the community. And, you know, my late father was a veteran, and, you know, a lot would be he'd be turning in his grave, actually, the state of our country at the moment. But there's got to be more respect. And I think the issue is, look at the left, the way they're treating the Northern Ireland veterans at the moment, the Labour government, and it just goes on and on. I think that the left don't have the same values as we do for king and country, the armed forces, and that's the sadness about it, really.
So yeah, well, since I started this petition, it went viral, and I've had so many messages from homeless veterans that are on the streets. So
it is a big problem.
Yeah, people don't believe it. We have a hotel in Scarborough. It's where we live. My husband runs his training courses from here, and we are looking at setting up this as a place for homeless veterans. We've only got 6 bedrooms. If we can help 6 people, it's better than none.
And your petition is with a view to at least offering military veterans free public transport.
They're doing America and they're doing Australia.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I used to live in the States, and as soon as an American meets or finds out that anybody was in the services, Vietnam,
yes.
they always say automatically, "Thank you for your service." We don't say that. What's wrong with this country that we don't respect our veterans, Anne-Marie, do you think?
When my son were at school and we moved back from Germany to the UK, my son got bullied because his dad was a soldier.
Really?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. My husband went into school in the end and did a talk. He got bullied at school. They said his dad was a murderer and he had a gun under his bed. This is at primary school, so...
My God.
Primary school, yes.
I'll tell you what, Andrew, we've got to do something about this. The values system in this country is getting twisted. It's getting very perverse, if you ask me. Something's going wrong here.
It's indoctrination, isn't it, of our children by left-wing idiots, in my views. It really is, isn't it? This left-wing ideology, it's in every public sector, it's in every university, and we've got to fight back.
Yeah. What's your take on the state of the country, Anne-Marie? How are you feeling about things right now?
Not good. I mean, I'm a care manager for Age UK, which is a local charity in York. So you can imagine the calls we get from our vulnerable elderly people who need support, who were having to choose between care and heating last year.
Absolutely, I saw that a lot actually when I was an MP.
Yes. So I see it on a daily basis. I've always worked in care, and I've seen just the system get worse.
Okay, Anne-Marie, how can people sign your petition? How can they find it?
If they go on to change.org and search my petition, it's on there. It's free public transport for our veterans.
Okay, so everybody go on to change.org, look out for free public transport for our veterans. It might have Anne-Marie's name involved. And
it's my husband's picture. People are questioning, is that the homeless veteran? He's got a lot of medals.
Is that your husband, is it? Okay.
That's my husband for reference.
Okay. Anyway, I think it's a great campaign. I think people should help you getting lots of names on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Question to you. How are you feeling about the country? Are we there?
Oh, sorry, you're speaking to me. You went off.
I am. I was just like, how are you feeling about the state of the country right now?
I feel saddened. I do lay awake at night thinking of the state of the country, because I think when you're a parent, you have a different stake in things, don't you? You view things through a different lens in a way, and you want to make sure it's safe for your children growing up. And I don't feel safe, so I don't feel safe for him. And something's got to change. This is why, the uni party, I really genuinely believe we've had a uni party now.
Absolutely, absolutely. We need more people like Anne-Marie and you, Andrea. Anne-Marie, thank you very much for your time, and always a pleasure to have you on the show. As you know, Andrea, thank you very much. Andrea Jenkins there, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the Mayor, the Reform UK Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, and Anne-Marie Miles, who's got a petition up to give free transport to military veterans after she saw a poor old guy, former Royal Engineer, kicked off a train, homeless with his little dog. Could have paid the fare with cash, but computer says no, can't take fares on the train. And Anne-Marie said there he was crying. I mean, really? Served his country, ends up with his little dog crying, nowhere to live, and they won't let him stay on the train. What's happening to this country? 03444 991 1000. I should read this out. This is from the government. This is in terms of potential free transport for veterans. A government spokesman said this government is renewing its contract to those who have served with a range of support across health, housing, employment and welfare. Last month we launched a new veteran support system, VALOR it's called, which is being piloted in the north of England. While there are no plans to introduce free public transport for veterans, discounted travel is available for those eligible, including 1/3 off the cost of most rail fares and free travel on most transport in London. So that's the government saying that. When we come back, your calls, 03444 991 1000. Stay tuned, back in a mo.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'll read you a few notes in a little while. Lady from Epping in North London, Essex, is going to be in the studio. She's one of the genuine local people who've been protesting about the asylum seeker hotel. So she's not a renter mob or anything like that. She's a mum who's worried about safety on the street. So we'll talk about Epping with Karen after the next break. But I'll read a couple of messages first. This is doesn't have a name on it. I support and vote for the Reform Party, but does anyone actually believe that they will send a single criminal to El Salvador? Very doubtful indeed. I do. I believe that they'll do that. They've got a much bigger chance of doing that than Starmer has, sending a single migrant back to France as part of his swap a foreigner deal. Yeah, why not? Why do you find it so unlikely? Why not? Here's Liz. She says Starmer is doing all this deliberately, letting all these... He's not, Liz. I hate when people do this. He's such a clever guy. He's working against the interests of Britain. He's a super brain. He's an idiot. He's not doing this deliberately. Anyway, I'll read it out. So Liz thinks Starmer's doing this deliberately, letting all these aliens in deliberately. I tell you. Why? Because he was getting his own back on us for Brexit. He is doing as much damage as he can. He's doing a lot of damage, Liz, but he's not doing it on purpose. He's doing it because he's useless. Seriously, this is no grand plan. That man has... He's the man with no plan, trust me. Here is Warren. In Lancashire. Farage should announce, so that Macron hears, that the more you allow to come here, the more you'll be getting returned in 3 years, if and when Reform get in. Might focus his mind. Well, how are they going to do that? That's the problem. I mean, you know, if we say that Starmer's not going to return a single migrant on this swap a migrant deal with Macron, how are Reform going to send back, you know, all the migrants who are currently coming over? I mean, I wish they would, but I don't see how they're going to be able to do it. Right, here's this is from Tony in Wiltshire about the people smugglers. Just arrest the coach driver. It's like a bus driver, like a Transport for London bus driver. That's all they are. Arrest the coach driver, put him away for 10 years. He's just a coach driver. He doesn't work for the gangs. He works for public transport. Put him away for 10 years and stop this particular route. I don't think you're quite getting it, Tony, actually. These are just buses, local buses, and all the migrants get off around this sort of tent city that they've made, and then they hang around and wait until they climb on a boat. It's not the bus driver's fault. This isn't a new route. Here's one from Rachel. The biggest worry is, why are the people in charge being so insistent on making our once civilised nation into an uncivilised country? What are they gaining by causing this unrest? Again, Rachel, you're making the mistake of thinking they've got some sort of master plan. These people are just useless idiots stumbling from one crisis to the next. All they're trying to do is get through till tomorrow. That's it. They just want to get through to tomorrow and then the next day. And if they're still sort of sailing high by next Wednesday, it's been a great week. I mean, that's all they are. They're stumbling from one mess to the next. There's no plan. What we got here? Here's one from Michael saying, this is from Mike. It seems that France are dumping the people they don't want onto our shores. It wouldn't surprise me if the French government were facilitating it. Send all the bad apples to the UK. It's not the bad apples, it's just all of them. Of course they're facilitating it. They don't want to keep these migrants. They just shoo them down to the beach and wave them au revoir. Can't wait to see the back of them. Yeah, Britain, you can have them. Here's another one, John in Somerset. It's Europe getting rid of all their migrants over to us. Well, yeah. Yeah, indeed. Well, listen, let's go to break now, and when we come back, we'll speak to Karen. She's a lady who lives in Epping. She's going to tell us all about life by their asylum seeker hotel. That next, stay tuned.
We need to make sure there is more respect on our streets. We need to make sure there's less litter, less crime. All these things are of course a concern, and we need to make sure we have a proper plan to tackle all that.
So what would your plan be to tackle that? What would your plan be? Would you put even more police on the streets? Would you allocate money for it? Because a lot of people feel there just is a lack of policy from the Conservatives at the moment, that you're flailing around without a plan.
I don't think that's right at all. We will have a plan for that. We're working on that right now.
We are
across the UK on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Last week we had Ongar councillor in Essex, Jamie McIver. He was in there telling us about those problems that they're having in Epping, the rather pretty sort of North London Essexy town near Epping Forest, where they have a hotel in the middle of the town called the Bell Hotel. That's been turned into a migrants accommodation centre, asylum seekers. More than 100 asylum seekers in there, one of whom came over from Ethiopia now, and he is within 8 days was in Chelmsford Magistrates Court, charged with 3 sexual assaults on local women. He denies those charges, but that information enraged and worried the local community, and you've seen the protests that have been happening night in, night out. Now, Jamie came in last week, and now we've got Jamie's mum, because she lives in Epping, Karen McIver. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
Now, you've been taking part in these demonstrations. I should say at the outset, I mean, you are a member of Reform, like your son, of course, and you are going to stand to be a local councillor in
Yes,
Epping.
that's right. Yes.
But, I mean, you've taken part in these demonstrations not as a Reform UK member, but as a concerned member of the local community, and there's been hundreds of others like you. Tell us what people are thinking in Epping about all of this.
So people in Epping are very concerned. Epping is a wonderful place, full of lovely, lovely people. We're hard-working people, we abide by the law, and we do, you know, we're a family town, if you like, and people are really concerned about who is in that hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I alluded to it slightly yesterday to say that families are scared, basically. We're scared of what's going on, and we feel that if we do peaceful protests, which is what we represent, we hope the government will listen to us and close the hotel. The hotel needs to close. It's next to a secondary school, and we hope that the hotel will close, which is why we're peacefully protesting. Yesterday we marched to the council offices and back, all women and children, sisters, mums, aunts, nannies, grandmas.
Yeah.
And we marched together peacefully to try and get our message across.
And of course, you get descended on by the renter mobs from both sides of the political fence. You get the right-wing troublemakers come on in to cash in on the protest. You also get the left-wing ones from Antifa who seem to be escorted into the middle of the trouble by the police, which seems a bit odd. But, you know, you're always going to get these kind of renter mobs that will cash in on this kind of unrest, local unrest. I think the important thing to stress, and this is what gets lost in the mix when politicians start going, oh, far-right thugs, far-left thugs, just thugs, you know, thuggery, racists. What gets lost in the mix as they shout their cliches, the establishment, is that most of the people protesting are people who live locally in Epping and are worried about what's going on in their streets. The 100%. Majority of people protesting are locals, right?
Everybody that I see is a peaceful protest. Now, when we arrived last Sunday, there was a mob of far-right people that were very well organised with signage, and they shouldn't have been there. They've only come there for one reason, and we peacefully protested last Sunday and we peacefully protested yesterday. I personally didn't see any trouble yesterday. It was very, very peaceful, and I thought it was a very powerful message that we were all strong women standing together to represent our community, and that's what I wish that the media across the board would report, because when you see headlines, the far right, it's actually not accurate, it's incorrect, and I witnessed it with my own eyes. I was there for 5 hours yesterday around the town. It's the town where I live, and it's misrepresented, and when you see the headlines, it's given the wrong impression of Epping. Epping is a wonderful place full of wonderful families.
And it misses the point. The point is that in this, you know, sea of confected outrage you get from politicians all the time, and the police, racists, far-right thugs and all that, you never get anyone, politicians are particularly, standing up and say, well, at the heart of all this is people who live locally who are worried about safety on their streets. No one's listening to you.
They're
no
just
one's
looking
listening
for
to
a headline. Yesterday there was so much sort of positive from a very negative situation. The headline of all the mums together, that didn't really get reported on. The headlines were about the trouble. It was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, and the message is loud and clear. We are peacefully protesting. We want the hotel to close. We are concerned. We're extremely concerned about who is in the hotel, and you know, you don't see any local leadership. You don't see the local councillor or the local MP come and stand with the people. You don't see that. You know, and this is what we want to see. You don't see anybody from the government. You know, you don't see Yvette Cooper. You don't see Keir Starmer commenting on what's going on in Epping. We just left to protest peacefully for ourselves, to raise the profile and try and get the hotel closed.
Well, tell us how the hotel has changed life in it's a very pretty little town, isn't it, near the forest there. So you've got this hotel right in the middle. I believe you've got another one outside of town.
We have another one about 1.5 miles away
so
called
you've got
Phoenix.
Two, but mainly you've got this one right in the middle called the Bell. As we were saying earlier, as I was saying, there's an Ethiopian migrant in there, turned up on June the 29th. Within about 3 or 4 days, it took him 2 days to commit 3 alleged serious sexual assaults. 2 days. Alleged 3 sexual assaults. Now, he denies those offences, but presumably that's not the only incident that's got you worried. I mean, tell us about what these young men, they're mainly young men, right? What are they getting up to in the middle of your town?
Crime in the area is scary. The shops are being, people are stealing from shops. It's a little market town. On a Monday we have a lovely market and it's full of elderly people, young people, people in their lunch breaks popping out. And people are if you speak to people in Marks and Spencer Tesco, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names, if you speak to staff, they would tell you that there's a lot of stealing that goes on, and that's really affected the area. The actual hotel, the area around the hotel now has like metal fencing around it. I mean, we're talking the edge of Epping Forest. This is like a nature reserve. It's beautiful. And now you're seeing it full of riot police, and it's just giving such a wrong impression, and it's scaring people. It's scaring children. You know, children have to walk past that hotel to go to school.
What do these young men do all day? Because they're not allowed to work.
They hang around.
Just like what, drinking and smoking and God knows.
You know,
what.
I can't say that I've really seen them smoking and drinking. I haven't seen that myself, but I'm sure they do. But I just see them hanging around. They hang around on benches in groups. You know, I often have my lunch break. I work locally to Epping, and I often have my lunch break and I walk through the shops, and they just hang around. They stare. They just make people feel uncomfortable. And what people here are concerned about is, who are they? Who are these people? You know, we
don't know, do we?
And this is the message.
Because we don't ask them any questions.
So why would you put lots of men that you don't know next to a secondary school? Who makes that decision? It's ridiculous. Common sense has failed. It's ridiculous.
And in terms of your requests or your demands to have this hotel closed down as an asylum seeker hotel, what response have you had so far?
To my knowledge, from Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, to my knowledge, there's not been a response. Local leaders have not stood with the people of Epping when they're protesting. They've not stood by their side. They may go on tweet, you know, they may do things like that. They don't actually stand with the people from Epping. They're not standing there side by side supporting and showing their support. You don't see any local leadership at the protests, which is a shame because it's full of local people.
And are you feeling a bit abandoned in that respect?
I think I just feel they could lead a lot better. It's a weak leadership.
Yeah, as I say, it must be frustrating for you because, you know, the only thing you hear politicians say is, oh, far-right thugs, all rent a mob, all throwing bricks at the police, all of which, you know, nobody's condoning that. Terrible that happens. But as I say, if you read the papers or you watch the TV or you listen to politicians or top coppers, you'd think that the disturbances were purely between, you know, far-right people who've come in from another area and far left people who've come in from another area. But that's not true, is it?
No. The people of Epping are protesting peacefully. That isn't being reported, unfortunately, and our message is getting lost. Nobody in Epping who is peacefully protesting wants trouble. That is not what we're about. The presence of the police is quite scary. I have to say the police yesterday, who I understand were from Bedfordshire, Essex and Norfolk, were very, very different. They were friendly police, whereas the police that came on Thursday night were very aggressive and rough and frightened people. The police that came yesterday, they allowed us to do our peaceful protest, and that's what needs to be reported, and that's the message we're trying to put out.
Absolutely. And did you see, was it Thursday night, did you see this? I mean, there were stories that the left-wing thugs turned up, and they all wear like balaclava. They're as bad as the right-wing thugs. They turned up, and there were stories that the police escorted them into the middle of the demonstration.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly what happened.
Why did they do that?
And that's exactly it. Not only did they took them from the station took them to the hotel, which let me tell you is, you know, it's a long walk. So they took them in their vans. But why are they turning up to a peaceful protest wearing balaclavas? Why are they turning up covering their faces?
Peaceful, that's why.
You see us there standing side by side, showing who we are. Now, yesterday we was informed by the police that the face coverings were banned. There was no face covering.
Right.
Anybody that was seen wearing a face covering was asked to remove it. Right. So how come it's now being reported that the people are all turning up with their face masks on? Why didn't the police get them to remove their face? Because yesterday during the day we were all told no face, and nobody came with a face mask. We were there for a peaceful protest. You know, that's the purpose of the protest. I mean,
it just strikes me as extraordinary that the police. Wouldn't it be a better policy when all these left-wing thugs turn up to say, you know, no, you can't come into Epping. You know, I hope you enjoyed your train ride to the local station, get back on the train and go away.
Exactly that, Kevin. And why couldn't they, you know, if they're going to put them in a pen and keep them away, why couldn't they keep them the other end of the high street? Why did they have to let them come to where we were peacefully?
A lot of questions to be answered. Listen, Karen, thank you so much for coming in. That's Karen McIver. You know, she lives in Epping. You heard her story. Let me know what you think. 03444991000. When we come back, Kinsey Schofield with all the latest mega news. Stay tuned for that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Back. This is the final hour of tonight's Political Asylum. 60 sizzling minutes still to go. We'll be taking your calls in about 30 minutes or so. 03444991000. Basically, the migrant crisis. You saw the exclusive footage we brought you from the north of France around Calais. Thousands and thousands of these young men waiting to come across. The police clearly not stopping them in any way. They're being bussed in. Some of them are coming across for free. Meanwhile, we learn that some of these Afghani migrants who came across in this secret airlift that the government took out a super injunction to make sure you and me and the electorate didn't know about. 36,000 of them we now think came across, and one of them turned up, and loads of them bring in loads of their family members. One of them said, all right, if I bring 22 of my relatives with me, 22 of my family members. And what did we do? We go, yeah, sure, no problem. Should have said no, shouldn't we? Ridiculous. 03444991000. What other secrets is this government keeping from us? Is this the new technique that these useless politicians will go to court to keep secret their balls-ups? You know, so that we don't find out about them, at least until after the next election, eh? Unbelievable. 03444991000. You just heard Karen McIver from Epping talking about what it's like in that town now. They've had an asylum seeker hotel foisted upon them. More than 100 young men of military age milling around this tiny, picturesque town to the north of London by Epping Forest. Nothing to do. It's a recipe for disaster. One of them has been charged with 3 sexual assaults. 3 sexual assaults. He denies them, but no wonder that community are up in arms. Dis in Norfolk looks like it's going to kick off tonight. More and more of these communities are going to protest about these hotels. We are sitting on a powder keg, I suspect. Folks, your thoughts? 0344 499 1000. All that in just a little while. But first, well, she's in the studio. It's Kinsey Schofield, for God's sake.
I'm Kevin. I had a cab driver from Epping today who was talking to me all about this, and he said that, well, aside from being a huge fan of Kevin O'Sullivan, there we go, that this had really devastated their community, and they felt like it was very unfair to them. And how can you not sympathise with them? You
sympathise with them and all the other communities that are going to kick off over the summer. People have had enough of this. You get tiny, small little towns like Epping. They have no say in this. Suddenly, they wake up one morning, there's 100 blokes, you know, from Eritrea and Ethiopia and Syria and Afghanistan living in the middle of their town. Half of them can't speak English. They know nothing about England, and guess what? One of them was charged with 3 sexual assaults within 2 days. He denies those charges. However, you can understand it's going to be more and more trouble with more and more communities the more this government carries on like this. Well, let's talk about Meghan and Harry, shall we? This has just come in. This is interesting. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been brutally mocked, Kinsey, in a new Family Guy episode in which the characters Stewie and Brian are meeting the American author Mark Twain. I suppose it's historical. Brian says, doesn't history pretty much suck? The Crusades, Hitler, and then Stewie says Prince Harry marrying Meghan Markle. It's a bit of an unfair comparison, perhaps.
And then it cuts to Prince Harry, who goes, again? Because this is the second time Family Guy has taken a swipe at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and goes, your wife is probably just as bad, or something like that, something similar. But, yeah, I mean, with Harry's show ranking below 3,000, Polo on Deadline's list of Netflix's programs last year, or this year. Meghan Markle not even hitting the top 300. We were told that they were about to take over Hollywood. Archwell Productions. They were going to be in front of the camera. They were going to be behind the camera. I will probably see my grandmother on the other side before I see Meet Me at the Lake come to fruition.
Meet Me at the Lake. Yeah, all right then, don't.
Yeah, and so this is a pretty defeating moment for them, because what they wanted us to believe was that they didn't need the British royal family. They were going to move to Hollywood and be movers and shakers. They were friends with Tyler Perry, friends with Oprah. Remember Meghan walking that Variety Power of Women red carpet, teasing some of their projects, sitting with other powerful women at that event. And what they have become is ultimately a punchline in Hollywood.
Yeah, they are. They're laughing stocks.
Right, and that's not what they want. I mean, this is got to sting.
Yeah, it really is. And there are reports this weekend that Meghan is now officially, and I quote, the breadwinner at Montecito Towers.
Well, yeah, because every time you want money, if you want money from Prince Harry, somebody has to pass away.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, he only makes money by inheriting millions from dead relatives. So he isn't bringing in any money at all. In fact, it's hard to see whether he's doing anything at all except hopping on the odd plane to pretend that he's making, you know, fake royal visits all over the place. So he's not really doing anything. He's not bringing any money in, and we're told in reports over the weekend that Meghan is now officially the breadwinner in that relationship. But the problem is, the bad news, Kinsey, is it's pretty unlikely that Ms Markle is making a fortune from her online store. As ever, we come back to our recurring theme. That is not a money spinner. Selling dried flowers and cookie recipes and 14.5% strength and fall over rosé wine she can't be making enough money. They estimate that their basic expenses, basic expenses, and I suspect this is a conservative estimate, are $4 million a year. And they say they're not bringing in anything like that amount of money.
I mean, fruit sprinkles are pretty, not fruits, flour sprinkles can be pretty expensive when you're buying in bulk. But
well, they are if you buy them off Meghan.
Yeah, otherwise you're getting them at 3 times the cost. So I do think maybe there's a consistency with Prince Harry paycheck-wise through BetterUp. What does Prince Harry do for BetterUp? God only knows, but that is that mental health app that works with CEOs. He's been with them since they stepped back as working members of the British royal family. This is why we also believe that Netflix will continue to work with Meghan and not so much Prince Harry, that she might independently sign a new contract with them where they have first rights of refusal, which
That's what they want, isn't it?
She can tease, or she can bring them pitches and they get to say yes or no.
Yeah, well, the pitch they want, though, is...
Tell us all about your miserable marriage.
Do you want my marriage to Harry, what went wrong? That's what they want, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what the theories are, is that they're keeping them close. They're keeping Meghan close in case things go south, really. But even with the not even hitting the 300, the failure of the Netflix series with Love Meghan, we have to sit through season 2 with Chrissy Teigen, America's favorite cyberbully. And I just think, what on God's green earth is
Meghan, America's favorite bully?
Allegedly. But yeah, so what we know how they're making money a couple of ways. Meghan tells us that she's an investor. Because she does media to promote some of the projects she invests in, like that handbag company, where they pay the women that make the handbags that sell for $500 and $600, like $1 an hour or something ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then we know she's invested in this hair care company because she promoted that woman on her Confessions of a Female podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder podcast. Mm-hmm. So she's an investor. She makes money through affiliate links. I think that the affiliate links she's slacking on, because she could make money consistently there if every time she wore something on Instagram or at an appearance, that link appeared on her Instagram. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. She hasn't. That's been stale for a while. She hasn't updated that in a while. There will be a blitz when she updates it again after season 2 comes out or whatever, but she should update it consistently. Every time she's in the garden wearing whatever, she should post a link to something, that outfit or something similar, and she does not do that. The theme of the only thing that they're consistent at is the inconsistency. You could make money here, but you have to be consistent. She's not being consistent there. There's the podcast we think has been dropped. And then
why wouldn't it be? Nobody listened to it. Nobody watched it.
The sleep sound podcasts were excelling.
It got beaten, didn't it, by sleep
far
sound?
Far higher than Meghan's. And then when it comes to this season 2 of her podcast, I honestly think, based on the fact that we know it was filmed back to back, that this was probably financially within the first contract, that the money that they were quote unquote owed within the first contract, because I think that was one of the reasons they filmed it so quickly, to kind of milk the Sussexes for everything they could get.
I mean, I just think I don't believe as ever is it bringing in avalanches of cash. He's not really bringing in much at all. He's got that gig, as you said, with that weird help company. But basically, he's not really bringing anything at all. She's not making enough. They're going to have to find something else to do. Now, he keeps talking about launching a commercial project, doesn't he? When is he planning to do that? Didn't he say in the spring or something?
We'll have to wait and see.
That's a long time. Why don't you just get on with it, Harry?
Well, stop. These two tease things. Meet me at the lake. These two tease things, and then they never come to fruition. And that's one of the reasons that people have a hard time caring about what's coming up next, because it's like, oh, here they are teasing something that never happens again.
Well,
American Riviera Orchard.
American Riviera Orchard. I did tell you. I told you that would never start. And meet me at the lake, in case you're not aware of the reference we keep making. This was the rights to a book, a best-selling book that Harry and Meghan bought. It's called Meet Me in the Lake. It's about kind of two people, middle-aged people.
We're assuming there's a lake involved.
Yeah, by a lake. Who meet at a lake and revive an old romance. So it's not exactly the sort of stuff of blockbuster sales bashes anyway, but maybe it could work. But then again, they bought the rights and that was it. They haven't done anything else, right?
Yeah. And it's my understanding that Netflix actually paid for it, and I'm wondering if the objective there was to make sure it happens whether Harry and Meghan are involved or not.
Yes, that could be getting Harry and Meghan
not
out
trusting.
If they ever want to get that film made, I'd suggest they get Harry and Meghan out of the picture.
But doesn't it surprise you that Netflix is the partner of allegedly As Ever, and they don't, and they're so messy with the launch of each and every one of these products, and there's not enough product available? Don't you expect more from Netflix?
I would, if I thought that they were very deeply involved in everything that she does, but I don't think they are. Okay. I think you're exactly right. They are keeping tabs on her. They're keeping a connection with her. They're telling her, listen, you got any ideas? We're up for it. We'll make the series if we like it. Want to stay in touch with you, but they're doing this because when the time's right, they want the Harry and Meghan marriage what went wrong story from Meghan. And my guess, she'll be fully prepared to sell. Let's talk a little bit about the relationship between Harry and Meghan, though. I think it's very interesting that last week he went to Angola to retrace his mother's footsteps, landmine charity. So he's walking the kind of dangerous paths and roads of Angola, where there are lots and lots of unexploded landmines due to previous conflicts. It's a nightmare. Kids always getting blown up, everybody losing limbs. It's horrible, and Diana did a lot of good work there. And so Harry suddenly retraced her steps last week.
Again, he's done this before.
Yes, he likes to retrace his mother's
But no,
steps.
this exact walk, he's done this before.
Yeah. But what I think is interesting about it, apparently we're told he was absolutely adamant, no way, Jose, is Meghan coming with me. And apparently he's developed an obsession with trying to regain the popularity he once enjoyed in this country. So he realises that he's never going to be popular in this country if he's with Meghan, because people in this country don't like Meghan. So apparently he was absolutely, 100%, I don't want Meghan anywhere near me on this trip. I think he might do more and more solo trips because she's toxic and he knows it. He's never going to get popular again as long as he's hanging around with Meghan. So might get more and more solo appearances from old Ginger Nuts, yeah?
Well, I think we teased this last year, this professional separation. We saw it...
But then it ended and now it seems to be back.
Well, did it ever really end? I think we're seeing him go full force with the professional separation, because how awkward was it when he just pops up on the very last episode of With Love, Meghan? The awkward hug. I mean, they both are frustrated that their brand is bitter, or petty prince, petty princess. They loathe it. And so Meghan's trying to convince us that she's in this pursuit of joy. Oh my God, find a more generic scent. Everything she says, live, laugh, love, you could buy it on a TK Maxx like bath towel, bathroom towel. But we are definitely seeing a professional separation, even with Polo. The series on Netflix, and Meghan's As Ever brand. But I think that he realizes that when they sit together and they are seen together, first of all, she steals all the oxygen in the room at Invictus. And these are war heroes that should be acknowledged for their sacrifices. And everybody's talking about what Meghan wore or how Meghan behaved, her kissing Harry. She totally distracts from this gorgeous event that should really be Harry's legacy. And unless he removes her from the equation, specifically Invictus, I think she risks damaging that brand, that legacy for him. And so the Daily Mail's reporting that she is not expected to be there with him in 2027.
Yeah, because it's going to be in Britain, as I always told you. I don't think she'll ever set foot in this country again. I mean, the thing about this woman, Meghan, is she wants to be loved by millions and millions of people. Unfortunately, it transpires she doesn't really have the right personality to be loved by millions of people. In fact, quite the reverse. I mean...
Well, look, but with Diana, we loved Diana because she was sincerely full of empathy and compassion. Yes, she could be neurotic, she could be self-consumed, but when she was in a hospital room cradling a baby, she was all in, and we could feel it. You could feel it through the photo, you could feel it through the video. Meghan is entirely self-consumed, start to stop, and we can feel it. We can feel it in the photo, we can feel it in the video, we can feel it as we watch Prince Harry become a shell of himself. None of us recognize the man he is. Remember how silly and outgoing and naughty he used to be, how cheeky he used to be? He is a broken individual who is so completely lost, looking for the next hit, the next bong hit, allegedly. I don't want to get in trouble.
But you can say it. I mean, he keeps admitting it himself, so what the hell?
You read Spare.
Maybe he's going to do a line of coke. Maybe he's going to do some magic mushrooms in chocolate. You know what I mean? But this is what he admitted to doing in his book Spare. So, hey-ho, Harry, you've made your drug-taking bed and we can make you lie in it like we are right now.
But I think she's desperate to be, how we're talking about Prince Harry trying to recreate that popularity, he's doing it through his mother's legacy. But Meghan thinks she is Diana because Harry tells her she is Diana, and she's so far from it. And that's why she really, truly is delusional enough to think that millions of people out there should love her.
That's why I always say that I do not believe that As Ever can ever be a financial success. It can't be, because if you're going to have branded products based on your celebrity, you know, we've talked about all the people who sell rosé, for example, Brad Pitt, previously Angelina Jolie, Jean Paul, what's his name, Jean Bon Jovi, Dolly.
You just said John Bon Jovi's name so handsome.
Yeah. I didn't say that.
No, you said it. It was so handsome coming out of your mouth. When Americans say it, it's like John Bon Jovi.
Sorry, John Bon Jovi.
John Bon Jovi.
John Bon Jovi. So many celebrities. Dolly Parton. Loads of them have done it. Kylie Minogue. They're all selling rosé, but it's on the back of their popularity. You've got to be popular. This is why I don't think Meghan is really any kind of influencer, because too many people don't like her. Anyone
I see trying the rosé, trying the fruit spread, they're hate buying it for likes. They're hate buying it for clicks. I haven't seen anybody that's sincerely like, oh yeah, I got my girls, we're gonna have our Meghan Markle rosé. It's like, are you ready to drink gasoline and get weird? That's the only thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, 14.5% alcohol in her bottles of rosé. That is seriously strong stuff. Most rosé, 12.5% probably, 13 max. So 14.5%. I mean, as you said, it's rocket fuel.
Yeah, Elon Musk is calling her going, how much can I get? I'm trying to get it all the way to Mars.
Can you snort it? That's what he's asking you.
No, that's what Harry's asking, allegedly.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's another story emerged over the weekend. I mean, it's sort of almost, you know, intuitive that this would be the case, but it's a story that was written in the papers. The Sussexes have no plans ever to return to the UK.
I mean, they should have been quoting Kevin O'Sullivan.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I've written as a couple, that is. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, Meghan, as I keep saying, I don't think she'll ever step foot in this country again, because she knows she doesn't like us and it's feelings mutual.
Meanwhile, cultural appropriation, selling tea, selling biscuits.
Yeah, that's
I hate you guys, but I'm going to sell all of these things that are culturally connected to you and the British royal family.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I just think inherent in all of this, so as a couple, they won't come back. But one day, maybe Harry might come home alone.
I've said that forever. I think I've probably said that for 3 or 4 years, that the only way I can see Prince Harry returning is by himself. And it's not something I wish, it's not something I hope for. I think Prince Harry is madly in love with Meghan Markle. I think he doesn't know any better. But I don't know if Meghan is as committed, and that's not just me saying that. You can look at Lady Elizabeth Anson, who says we believe that she engineered this. Yeah. We don't think that she loves him as much as he loves her. We're not sure that she loves him at all. I mean, that was the real concern. Yeah. And even Katie Nicholl coming out today adding to that story, saying that Lady Anson really felt like Harry and Meghan ruined the Queen's twilight years with this chaos and this drama. Meanwhile, these two hijacking this woman's nickname and stealing her legacy through this nickname while twerking in a hospital room.
The Queen was very upset about the Lilibet thing. I mean, the thing about Meghan, I mean, I don't know her. I've never met her. Don't particularly.
You spend a lot of time, enough time with her.
I spend a lot of time talking about her, so I reserve
expert.
I reserve some right to deliver my view on her personality, and we're talking about whether or not she loves Harry or anybody else for that matter. I think there's only one person in the world. All right, I'll give her this. I'm sure she loves her kids. Apart from that, I think there's only one other person in the world she loves, and that's herself.
So ask Thomas Markle. Ask her daddy.
Yeah. She loves herself on an epic scale, doesn't she?
I know, and it's so. When you sit down and really think about the reason why she blew her dad off, that he, completely oblivious to the way tabloid culture works, was approached by somebody that said, hey, you know what, every other picture of you in the newspaper is you buying a six-pack walking out of a liquor store. Let's improve your image. And he was like, you know what, I don't want to embarrass my daughter. Okay, let's improve my image. So he works with this person to improve his image, and Meghan cuts him off because he was trying to better himself for her wedding day. When you really sit back and think that that is the reason why she won't take his calls anymore, it's awful. It's awful.
The thing is about old Thomas Markle Sr. is, he's inexperienced with the media. He didn't know. Some sharp-talking British photographer convinced him, persuaded him to put this suit on and say, oh, look, I'm getting ready for the wedding. I mean, let's not put too fine a point on it. He got conned. But wouldn't a daughter go, oh, well, poor dad.
Poor daddy. Yeah.
Poor daddy didn't know about this. He got conned. Oh, well, daddy, don't worry. See you at the wedding. Instead, never talked to him since. Weird.
Yeah, Harry should take note. Harry should take note. Because Thomas Markle, her dad, who she says, Harry lost his father too. These are the consequences of your own actions. You both cut your parents off. You both have been horrible to your elderly parents. King Charles has cancer. I mean, it's such a poor reflection on these two. But Harry should take note, because look at Jessica Mulroney was Meghan Markle's best friend, up there with her on her wedding day. Yeah. Completely, Meghan has completely burned that bridge as well. Yeah. Look at the long list of people. That's the cast of Suits. We don't have her phone number anymore. These were her brothers and sisters while she was filming that television show. Harry needs to pay close attention, because she is capable of doing worse.
She's got this personality, character trait, where she can just ruthlessly cut someone out of her life, just like that, can't she?
I mean, yes. To the point where people are like, oh my gosh, she's going to butt heads with her teenage children one day.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget her first husband, Trevor Immelman, wasn't it?
Trevor Ingleson.
He suddenly received a FedEx parcel at his door, and in it was the wedding ring and the engagement ring.
And the only thing she wanted from their marital home was like a $400 juicer.
Is that right? Is that right? And did she get the juicer?
Yeah.
She got the juicer. Well, that's good. But I mean, but she does have this cold and ruthless ability to just, boom, cut people out gone.
I mean, her dogs. She left one of her dogs in Canada, her rescue dog that she fought like Hades for. She had like, Ellen DeGeneres suggested she get this dog, so of course she wanted this dog so she could have the story that she got this dog thanks to Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. She had all of her friends write the rescue with endorsements for her, and she was like, I'm on this show called Suits, name dropping, and created this entire campaign because someone else wanted this dog. And then when she married Prince Harry, she left this dog in Canada.
See, that's
you're done.
That's it. That's a no-no for me. That's the crime of the century.
Harry, if she'll leave the dog.
You can leave whoever the hell you like, but you start leaving your dogs behind. That for me, she's dead to me now. She's dead to me. She seriously is. Kinsey, when are you off back to the United States of America?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Well, it's been great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, I got to say, so Kinsey was a guest on my excellent TV show. What just happened? What just happened, right? So we filmed it last Thursday, and Kinsey was the guest, and we also had my other regular guest, Ash, on the show. And, you know, we get a nice little audience. Usually about 250,000, 300,000 around the world. Americans, Australian, Canadians, people, New Zealanders. They watch us from all over the world. It's quite an honour and a privilege. This week, she's on it. So far we've got 620,000. What is going on?
What just happened?
What just happened? Seriously. So. The Kinsey Schofield effect, folks. You can't beat it. Going to miss you when you go back, but we'll get you on. You coming on Thursday? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay,
Nice
Kinsey
and rested.
Schofield is going to get the plane tomorrow, first class, because she travels in some style, of course. And we'll get her back on the show on Thursday. It's been brilliant, Kinsey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes, and your messages. 0344 499 1000. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk.
The fish rots from the head. Tim Davie, you are the head of the fish. You are the head of the BBC. It is an appalling organisation that has been encouraging, I would say, and certainly complicit in scandal after scandal after scandal on our dime as the licence payer. So not only should Tim Davie be fired, not allowed to resign, be fired, but also surely, and I know this has been called for in the past, but surely the BBC must stand on its own 2 feet financially.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
A quick message, text message from James. A cry of rage. He says, my children can't get anywhere to live and have been waiting 11 years now. Please make this make sense. James is referring to the fact that if you're an asylum seeker from Afghanistan who's been flown in secretly, we think maybe 36,000 of them, under a news blackout, because the government took out a super injunction so that we, the people, couldn't find out about their complete balls up and their secret massive airlift to Britain. If you're one of those people, you go straight to the top of the housing queue for social housing, council housing. You leapfrog all the waiting Brits like James's children, and they get houses and the British people don't. 0344 499 1000. Let's take a quick call, then we better go to break. Let's talk to Bex in Essex. Hi, Bex.
Oh, Kevin, I've had enough. I've just had enough.
I know what you mean. It's like...
I just cannot anymore. I've lost the words of how to complain and moan about this. Do you know that numpty of our Prime Minister today was sat at the liaison committee?
Yeah.
And they asked him, so where are you going to save money when it comes to, you know, where you're going to house the asylum seekers? And he said, well, all the councils, they've got loads of properties available, loads.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
I'm like... Excuse me, well, where are they for us then? Like, you know, the guy who just texted in is absolutely insane. When they asked him how many, he said, I don't know, you know, the usual stuttering that comes out of his mouth.
Well, he's a liar, isn't he? So
he had no answers.
Yeah, he's just a liar. He just lies and lies and lies. So when he said councils have got lots of properties, we don't know whether or not it's true. If it is true, as you quite rightly say, Bex, what about all the British people who've been waiting on housing waiting lists for donkey's years? They are watching these Afghani migrants, for example, being flown over here secretly, leapfrogging over them to the top of the housing queue. Meanwhile, the Brits carry on waiting. And this is what gets on my nerves time and time again. The authorities of this country, the government, local government, everybody seems to prioritise these foreigners who broke into our country, these asylum seekers, over British citizens. That's got to stop, hasn't it?
It's true. And you know what? I'm starting to think, what is the point in being a good person? What's the point in working hard, paying taxes, not committing crimes? It used to be a badge of honour to say that. Now it feels like a badge of being a mug.
Yeah.
Because you've got all these scammers in London, you've got knife crimes, stealing phones, grooming gangs, women and children being sexually assaulted left, right, and centre. Now, we pay the police's wage. They don't do nothing about any of these crimes. Yet, when it comes to us doing a protest because we're unhappy, hundreds of them turn up. Hundreds.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've been monitoring. Well, you're in Essex. Whereabouts are you in Essex, Bex?
I'm not in a nice area of Essex, so I won't lie. But Epping is a really lovely place to live.
So you're not actually in Epping. Yeah, no, it's a lovely little town. I know it quite well. Yeah,
it's a lovely town, and do you know what? The houses there are really expensive, and I'm not looking to move out of the area in Essex that I'm in into a nicer place, into a nicer area. Epping was on my list, and
it's not now though, right?
You know, not anymore, and that's the thing. People's house prices are going to take a nosedive because who wants to go and live in an area where you can't safely walk out of your house at night?
It's a dreadful mess. It's a dreadful mess, Bex. With you all the way. Thank you for an excellent call. Keep in touch. That's Bex in Essex expressing her despair with everything. I mean, I think she's representative of what a lot of people are thinking and feeling right now, that they've had it. We seem to be, you know, just in a complete and utter chaotic mess thanks to this useless government. You know, it's not really about, I mean, I don't like their politics. It's not their politics, though, that I principally object to about this lot. It's their incompetence. You know, you have to accept government gets in, you don't agree with its policies. So I didn't agree with Tony Blair's policy, but he was an efficient Prime Minister. He ran the country sensibly with competence, and so did his ministers. This lot, I mean, they're just useless. They couldn't organise a booze up in a brewery. Absolutely hopeless. And the prospect of 4 more years of this lot is terrifying. Let's go to break. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your WhatsApp voice notes. Stick around.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just going to go to the phones in just a little while. Let's have a listen to a WhatsApp voice note first, shall we? This is Dave on Keir Starmer.
Good evening, Kevin. Just over 2,000 years ago, Nero supposedly fiddled while Rome burned. We have a Starmer who's fiddling while the country burns.
He certainly is. He's fiddling free stuff for himself. Remember, he doesn't pay for his suits or his glasses, and nor his wife gets free stuff as well. So they're fiddling free gear while Britain burns. Great, isn't it? Or Britain goes to hell in a handcart. Their policies are ruining this country. Here's Danny. He said, I was on, this is a text of course, I was on the council house waiting list. First it was a 3-year wait, then it went up to 5 years, then 7 years, then 10 years, before I was removed off the list. That's a British citizen. Well, Danny, you know what to do next time. Get yourself over to Kabul, pretend you're an Afghani migrant, pretend you're on the Taliban death list, kill list, you know, like most of those Afghanis did. They all pretended that they were great British helpers. Somebody made a really good point earlier today. Why didn't, before we put any of these people onto these secret airlift planes, why didn't we speak to them? Find out if they can speak English. If they help the British, they should be able to speak English, right? If they can't, you don't get on the plane. We didn't do any selection at all. I'm reading today maybe 36,000 have come across. Last week, the number seemed to be about 19,000. But we're now hearing it could be as many as 16,000. The exact numbers are lost in the mist of time, but all you need to know is that our brilliant government let in tens and tens of thousands of Afghani migrants who claimed, most of them lied, to say that they were people who helped the British during the Afghanistan war. Fair enough. If you did, we owe you a responsibility. But all the ones lying, we should have said no to. The guy who said, can I bring 22 family members? Maybe we should have said no to him. Don't you think, folks? Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Let's speak to Jeff in Liverpool. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Kevin. Great show.
Thank you, mate.
Right. Sorry for interrupting. Right. When these boats get exchanged over the border force, right?
Yeah.
Why don't the border force jump on that boat and arrest the driver of the boat and confiscate the boat, then interrogate the driver? But you just let him turn around and go back to France so the boat can be used again.
Well, you do know that the drivers of the boats, they're not members of the gangs. They're just migrants. Yeah, it's like when you go to a boating lake and they teach you how to drive the boat. They put a migrant in the driving seat. I think they get some kind of discount on their ticket, and they teach them how to drive it. So they're not members of the gangs.
Right, okay.
So
they still confiscate the boat, can't they?
They could, but they don't, you know. I mean, the British don't really do anything except get hold of the boat and escort it into Dover.
And I know these people, they get phones, and then they say they don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
Of course they know where they come from. They'll be using the phones to ring home, won't they? Yeah. Only MI5 or MI6 have sussed that one out. I've sussed that out lying on the bed.
Yeah, but what do you mean? You mean the migrants coming across?
The migrants, they get a phone and they say we don't know where they've come from. Of course, you just track the SIM card and where they're ringing home to. That's where they've come from. Simple.
I suppose so, but that doesn't really get us anywhere. It's just like, did you come from Syria or did you come from Ethiopia?
Exactly where they've come from.
Yeah. No, it would help. It would help if
it's all got to stop. Otherwise, this country's gonna. God knows what's going to happen.
I agree with you, Jeff. I mean, what we should do, we shouldn't let them anywhere near into the country unless they tell us where they came from. Frankly, I would say if you haven't got documents, if you threw your passport into the English Channel, so be it. You're not coming into the country. But we let them in, and we let them in, and we let them in. That's what we do. You know, the French don't do anything to stop them, and we don't do anything to stop them either. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know what to say, Jeff, except prepare for the worst. The next 4 years are going to be bad. Thanks for the call, though, mate. Keep in touch. That's Jeff in Liverpool. Let's go to Josie in Cumbria. Hello, Josie.
Hi, Kev.
Hi. What would you like to say?
A few months ago, my daughter was made unemployed through no fault of her own, and she applied for universal credit. They sanctioned her month after month after month for one thing and another, phoning up, cancelling phone calls, and then she was sanctioned because she didn't have the phone call. And then in the end, they asked her to prove her identity by sending them a copy of her passport to prove who she was.
Well, which is more than they do.
She had tax-paying history from when she started work.
This is typical, isn't it? They don't ask asylum seekers where they're from or what their background is. They just let them in.
Oh, definitely not. And I mean, let's face it, these towns up here are full of them. Absolutely full of them. They're everywhere. They're everywhere you go. You can't even go into the town centre now. I don't feel safe using a cash machine. I'll stand in a queue for an hour to inside the bank.
Where's your nearest big town then, Josie?
Barrow-in-Furness.
Barrow-in-Furnace.
Yeah.
And you don't feel safe there anymore, no?
No, not walking round the street. Well, once it starts getting to like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, I wouldn't be seen. I would not walk into the town. No,
is that when the asylum seekers start hitting the streets? Then is it?
Well, I don't know because I just don't.
You just don't go in. You just don't go. I mean, it's a terrible thing, though. It's like your hometown, right? And you don't go into your hometown because you don't feel safe. That's not right, is it?
We used to go for nights out, and we would walk from one pub to another. I mean, I wouldn't feel safe doing that now.
We've lost something, haven't we, Josie? We've lost something. We've lost the country we used to know. Listen, Josie, thank you very much for an excellent call. Keep in touch. That's Josie near Barrow-in-Furness in Cumbria, saying that she doesn't like to go into her hometown, lived there all her life. Doesn't want to go into that town anymore, doesn't feel safe. This is the story, folks. This is the story, that people don't feel safe on the streets of this country anymore, particularly women and children, and it's due to 15 years of the most disastrous migrancy policies by successive useless governments, useless Tories followed by useless Labour. What on earth have they done to us? What on earth have these idiots done to us? 03444 99 1000. Let's go to another break. When we come back, we'll take you all the way through to 10 o'clock, but just before that, Petri Hoskin will be in the studio to tell you what she's got lined up for your entertainment from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. into the small hours. So that's still to come. More calls, more messages, a couple of WhatsApp voice notes as well. So stick around.
They're being put in 4-star hotels, 3 meals a day, pocket money, free medical care, free dental care, and a chance to work illegally at the same time. I could see what was going to happen. So I was way ahead on all of this.
But they won't have had the most delicious piece of sea bass I have ever had when I came to your place and you cooked it for me.
Well, I'm a sea angler, have been all my life.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Quick text from Rick in West Yorkshire. He says, read the migrants in Epping. Putting young unknown migrant men into a hotel next to a secondary school. This is the sort of situation you would normally contact your government to sort out. But they are the perpetrators. What could possibly go wrong? Madness. Good point, Rick. You're absolutely right. It is madness. It's a recipe for disaster, and that disaster is happening. Let's listen to a WhatsApp voice note. This is Chloe on the migrants.
Hi, Kev. I don't know if it's just me, but I find it rather odd that they're allowing the migrants to go to Calais and camp, knowing that the only way out from there is across the channel to us. I thought we'd paid them £750 million to stop this from happening.
Well, in theory, Chloe, we have indeed paid them £771 million over the past few years for them to stop the migrants, but they seem to be running a kind of corralling centre whereby all the migrants are allowed to gather around the beaches, around Calais, in the woods, in the forests, pitch camp, massive great markets, hang around by the side of the road, waiting for their turn to get onto a dinghy or a small boat. So yes, in theory we have paid them all that money, but they haven't done anything for it. Let's listen to a last WhatsApp voice note, shall we? This is Phil again on the migrants.
Hi Kevin, just regards to sending some of these immigrants back, what we should do is make life so unbearable in this country, put a load of canoes on the coastline down in Essex or wherever they're coming across, and then we'll send them back, let them paddle back to France and see how France like us, not stopping them going back to there.
Yeah, good point, Phil, good point. Yeah, I got another one of these calls. This is from Len in Brighton. How can you say there is no grand plan? Of course there is. Do you really think that this bunch of idiots running the country right now, Keir Starmer and, you know, the motley crew we call the cabinet, you think they've got a grand plan? You think they're talented enough to put that plan into place? As I say, this lot could not organise a booze up in a brewery. Everybody knows that. There's no grand plan, because these are the people without a plan, as you're finding out. We are just trapped in a swirling mass of their breathtaking incompetence. They're just useless, folks, and they have wrong policies. They have ludicrous policies. They don't have a plan. They're not clever enough, trust me. Right, let's talk to Mary in Cyprus. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. What would you like to say?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I absolutely agree with every word that Isabel talked about. And those pictures that Nick took,
yes,
I thought were very revealing and showed us quite a lot. Yes, yes. But also, the President of France doesn't seem to be doing very much for the tenants in Calais, about as good as our government is with the people in Britain. But also, because they're all congregating there. We've got how many? 500,000 civil servants. Why don't they send some of those over there to sort them out, to take the details and the passport numbers and everything and find out what they've been doing before they get on these boats.
Well, there's a couple of points there. We can't send our civil servants or our coppers or anybody like that over to France because it's not our country. Secondly, you talk about their passports. I mean, most of them are ditching their passports. If they haven't already ditched them, they ditch them in the English Channel on the way over. They don't like to have documents because they don't want us to know anything about them. Yeah.
Well, yes, I mean, I realise that, but I just thought if they could do anything with the passports before they get in the boats to ditch them, we might find out a bit more about them.
Well, it would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, anything that might help us find out something about these people would help, because we are letting in tens and tens of thousands every year of mostly young men of military age, between the age of like 16 and 35, into the country, and we don't know anything about them. We don't even really know where they're from. We don't know about their criminal records. We don't know if they're married. We know nothing about them. Nothing about them, but we let them in and then we let them roam the streets as free people, free residents of this country. It's insane, Mary, it's insane.
I'm just thankful I don't live there anymore, but I mean, the lady in Epping, I thought she did a good job, and I feel very sorry for them as well.
Yeah, very much so. Nice little town. They've not only got one asylum seeker hotel in the middle of the town, they've got one just outside as well. This is quite a small town with two massive asylum seeker hotels as part now of that community. It's not fair on them, and nobody listens to them. All we talk about, look at the far-right thugs, look at those thugs, they're racists. Well, what about the actual people? Most of the people protesting are the people of Epping, and nobody listens to them. I tell you, Mary, not listening to the people when they have genuine complaints, genuine cases to complain about, it's a recipe for disaster. I think that disaster's already happening. Mary, well done for getting out of here and living in lovely Cyprus, and please keep in touch. That was an excellent call. That's Mary from Cyprus. Let's go to the next call. Let's talk to Steve in London. Hello, Steve.
Good evening, Kev. You all right?
I'm okay, yep.
Just a quick one, really. The thing that baffles me most about the immigration problem is when we have these immigrants that commit crimes and get a jail term. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're tied up by the ECHR. We get that. We understand that. But we've been out of the EU now since, well, we voted to leave 2016, and we came out in, I think it was 2021.
Well, finally, yeah. I think it was about 21, yeah.
Right, that was all. But why don't we bring in a law that supersedes ECHR that says any immigrant that is convicted of a crime that warrants jail time is automatically deported?
Well, we could just make that decision now. Exactly. Even the ECHR will allow that, except, of course, unless we're abusing their family rights or their right to a family life. Look, here's what happened today, Steve. Greece announced, because Greece gets hundreds of thousands of young men coming in from North Africa into Greece. That's their migrant crisis. Greece announced today. By the way, Greece is a member of the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. It announced that from now on, any migrant arriving in Greece will be either sent immediately home or put in jail for 5 years. So they've had enough. They're able to do that. They're in the ECHR. Why can't we do this?
Well, this raises another simple solution. Why don't we, as a continent, as Europe, band together, ignore the ECHR as a continent, and patrol the Mediterranean ourselves as a joint operation between European countries, and have Spanish Navy, French Navy, Italian, Greeks, the English, whoever, to patrol and do it as a joint operation to push these boats back.
Yeah, but then again, we'll still have our problem, won't we, in the North French coast coming across. I mean, perhaps we should prioritise patrolling the English Channel and stopping all these small boats coming across. I mean, I take your point about the Mediterranean, that's a problem too, but a more pressing problem for us is who's coming across the English Channel. Why don't we patrol the English Channel?
But if we stem it at the Mediterranean, then that'll stop people coming across. It'll put that block in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that stops the Mediterranean, but a lot of them come across via land all the way across from the Middle East, all the way across Europe. So they don't only come across the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I'm sure we could sort something out with Turkey, the main land border. Poland.
Our best friend's Turkey.
Yeah, well, no,
not necessarily.